Hello, this is J.N.S. and happy Saturday. And so we are back with our third video today, and we are going to be covering pretty heavy duty topic, I have to say, and it relates to um, dealing with uh, mind control. And so, to be honest, we're going to be talking about how does one break mind control. In particular, we're going to be talking about MK Ultra and what is MK Ultra, like what is the history of the mind control program, from high levels to low levels. But we're going to be talking about how one can undo subliminal mind control, subliminal mind programming that occurred on small scales, on big scales. And so we're going to first start by breaking down like what is MK Ultra. And so we may have heard about it, and there's a lot of scuttlebutt around the origins and the history, but we do know that it was a program that was developed around 1953. It's called Project MK Ultra, and it was developed. It began in 1953. It was halted in 1973 on the record, supposedly. And so, what we do know is that there was in particular fields like the medical field and psychological field and even the military and intelligence, there was human experimentation designed on citizens unknowingly, uh, carried out mainly by the CIA to develop procedures of mind control, essentially, different types of experiments, um, wanting to also understand how the mind works, how to identify drugs that could be used to control individuals. Um, and so it was used to pretty much manipulate mental states and brain functions of people. That could have been through psychoactive drugs, electroshocks, sensory deprivation, isolation, verbal abuse, hypnosis. Um, and there's also an occult aspect to this as well. And so we're going to cover both. And so when we talk about Project MK Ultra, it was a pervasive like experiment, if you ask me, and it was preceded by Project Artichoke, and it was again coordinated by the CIA and with the United States Army. And so obviously this was an illegal program. It was halted, supposedly, but in many ways, I would say that the program may have morphed, into we do know that it had morphed into like Project Phoenix and Project MK Search and all that. And so, even though it ended on the records, the concept behind mind control is still used by secret societies. It's still used by the occult. It's still used possibly in black ops programs that are a part of the government. Secret military programs, probably. It's heavy shit. Now, the information for MK Ultra was declassified in 2001, um, due to the Freedom of Information Act, and so we're talking about 20,000 documents relating to MK Ultra was declassified in 2001. So this was a real program. It again, it was totally illegal. It involved U.S. citizens. And it also involved about 80 institutions from the military, including colleges, universities, hospitals, prisons, pharmaceutical companies, and whatnot. Again, and as well as secret societies. I mean, it was horrible. Even talking about it makes me uncomfortable. As you can see, I'm stuttering more than usual. But yes, MK Ultra, again, it was carried out under the guise of research with the help of so many institutions, and it became public. And so there was a United States Congress hearing. There was a investigations that were deemed that, and it was found that there were many illegal activities that took place. Now, the origins of the project in terms of mind control did come from work done in Auschwitz in the 1940s, due to the unfortunate situation that was going over there, in Auschwitz. And so they did start to experiment in Germany, and there was a lot of experiments that used a lot of drugs like morphine, hallucinogenics, and it was used on prisoners of war, and so they were trying to develop a truth serum and experiment with mind and whatnot. And they actually, the US recruited some German scientists to work in Operation Paperclip. And so, they started to get their hands on, these on information relating to the occult, because the Nazis were heavily involved in the occult, as well as Nazi experiments in terms of drugs on the mind and different sort of methods to control the mind, whether that be through sensory deprivation, whatnot, and mental abuse. And so the program was shut down, but there were other programs that continued. One of them being which COINTELPRO Project Phoenix was like MK Ultra 2.0. Then you had MK Delta program, and you also had MK Search, MK Often, MK Chickwit. It's still, is ongoing. And now I would say, this is more so subjective, but in many ways, it's like when we think about mind control, even subliminal mind programming, it's so pervasive and covert, even the way, even the system itself is automated, like the K to 12 program. That's a program. It's a programming. The same curriculum is getting taught, throughout the system, and it's repetitive. It's habitual in a sense. It's like you're programming children. You're programming them from kindergarten to K 12, to 12. And so in my mind, I still see that as like a form of subliminal mind control, as well as like anything that has to do with like a lot of organized religion and anything that pretty much programs you when you're a kid, but I think that obviously when it comes to the actual the illegal experiments that was being done, that was a deeper form of MK Ultra. Obviously, that was a deeper form of mind control. Now, again, the documents, they had to like spend about $10 million to settle a lot of these cases, for the victims of this mind control program. Again, over 30 institutions and universities were involved, and most of the people were unknowing citizens at all social levels, of all races. And so obviously that is highly illegal. And so it's suspected that this stuff still goes on, with secret societies and with other, black ops programs, perhaps, or even with, continuations of COINTELPRO, that this type of thing is still going on. And as you can see, mind control history and applications, you see on your screen where it started in the 1950s, and then you see how it morphed. You see how it morphed into, again, you see MK Search, MK Delta, Project Artichoke. And you see there's always elements of, the occult in this. You see Project Monarch, that started in 1999, Nazi mind control. Then you have the founder of Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard. A lot of people don't know that Scientology is heavily rooted in mind control practice as well. So it's deep. You see the history on your screen. And so, today people talk about MK Ultra, and they talk about it more from the lens of like the entertainment industry, like the conspiracy that the artists are, under MK Ultra. And it's, to me, it's not a conspiracy. It's definitely something that occurs. Again, the practice of MK Ultra is multifaceted in the sense is you have a scientific component of it that's obviously psychological, but you also have a component of it that is deeply occultic, you know, and those modalities, it's that's a real the modalities used for the occult level goes much deeper because we're talking about control of someone's consciousness, control of not just what they think, but what they do and why they think it. And so MK Ultra is very important to know that it does have elements of trauma and induction. So it's in trauma induced mind control. And I would also argue that it is a modality of occult practices that is mainly used in Satanism. When we talk about like the way the secret societies use it, it relates to um, Satanism, in the occult. And it's like to set up a temple within someone's mind. And you're doing that through trauma and through various techniques, multiple techniques. And it's designed to split the mind, it's designed to break the spirit so that you're able to control it, and then so that programmers can control you. Now, some of the techniques that are used when it comes to the occult, MK Ultra ritual, because again, this is a ritual that can be done. And you don't have to use all of these techniques. You can use one, maybe two or more, three, however you're trying to do. And again, there are people that um, groom their children with this stuff, and they're born and groomed into this, and so they uh, use these practices as a part of their rituals and part of their like religion. And so, one of the components for MK Ultra for the occult side is radionics. Now, radionics involves like using devices, electronic devices. It could be scalar waves or like a device that you can subliminally program with the frequency and with a words actually, and you can send those frequencies over. You can also the harsher form of that is like a DEW, or a sonar wave beam. That's radionics, but it's used to like alter the brain waves of someone's frequency into subliminally program them. Psychotronics is using thoughts as radio signals to program someone. That's like it's like telepathy, but it's done using like a lot of dominance. And so it's pretty much you're using psychotronics and you're able to shoot like quantum teleport information over to the person that you want to control. The other way is through SRA, which is satanic ritual abuse. That's usually ritual sex magic. Or other forms of abuse, to program someone with alters or to fragment their mind, or to elicit responses through orgasm or through um, orgasm and pain to solicit a response. And then the other way that people do it is through drugs. That's obviously through LSD or something that alters their state of consciousness. And then you have neuro-linguistic programming, which is dealing with words and repetition, I presume. Again, psychotronics and radionics is probably two of the easiest forms. You don't have to be in front of the person to do that. You can be far away from the person, in fact, or over the internet or something. Or you don't have to be in front of those to do those methods, and they may not work if if people are aware of these type of things that occur. They would have some setups and some barriers for that to not work as far as the ritual itself, and then drugs and sex magic and SRA and NLP that usually has to be somewhat in person for the most part. But yes, that's the occult version, and you can again you people use all or some combination of that programming, and again it this can even occur just very, very subtly. Like we're talking about neural NLP, that would probably be something that would be used in the K to 12 programming. Just from going to school or watching your news or watching, that's still like a form of programming. It's just not as severe. Say if someone is using drugs and SRA and sex magic and psychotronics, and there's people that program other people with all of these things, especially those who got put in illegal programs, but they were already a part of occult families. Anyways, and so that obviously is it makes it worse. And so if you suspect or you may know or aware of that system, you know, we want to uncover how do you deal with that for those who may be victims of that, but also how do you undo programming, whether it's low grade MK Ultra or high grade MK Ultra due to something more sinister. So how you may know you may be a victim of this is um, if you fit one of the following, maybe one or more of the criteria. Like usually you may come from a military background, family may come from a military background rather, uh, or a occult background. So that could be belonging to a certain order or like a Mason, certain secret society. It could be one or more of that. It could be one or both of that. The other one is if you've been in like a cult, a part of a cult, like a religious cult of any kind. Um, yeah, religious cult of any kind, including you know, super zealot religious, like or even Satanism as well. I know Scientology as well, and I know some Christian denominations probably. Like if you were in a cult more, like though, where you face systemic abuse, uh, things that like wouldn't be normal of a church. Um, the other one is if your family is like maybe have ties to intelligence, uh, any sort of fraternal orders, any sort of uh, uh, yeah, I would say intelligence, military, secret society, or even ties to the music industry or ties to aristocracy, to the monarch. So those of certain bloodlines, anybody from that has any ties to a royal bloodline would deal with this more than usually as well, as far as the monarch mind control program. And so that's another thing you want to check. And you'll know that through surnames that occur, your surname, your coat of arms, if it occurs in certain books or certain heraldry books in Britain, you'll know that. And so we'll cover a little bit of what that looks like actually in this video in terms of like how you can look to see if your surname is in like the royal heraldry book, which is usually they call the House of Dimes. And so we'll cover that uh, Domesday book. We'll cover that in this video actually for those that suspect that like most likely for Black Americans, your last name is in that book. Or your first and your last name is in that book. And so we'll talk about that book. I did in this channel. We'll actually review some of that video because it's going to be relevant. Because again, it's a heavy topic as you can see. Like it's hard for me to even talk about even with my own experiences and suspicions and things that I know that occurred even within my own bloodline and things that friends go through and things you hear just from your own studies. It makes me, it's like, oh, um, yeah, if you come from, we'll review like the royal bloodline component of this because that's actually very important. Um, and also another way you may know is if you went to certain institutions that were notoriously involved with the MK Ultra program. So like Columbia University, which is my alma mater. I went to Columbia University. Um, other schools. I wanted there's quite a bit. There's many institutions involved. There's many hospitals, and so if you find yourself, maybe you come from a family that has a couple of these things: military, they work in medical, they we're in a fraternity or a secret society, you realize those things. You may, and you notice odd things in your life, or you just suspect. Maybe you just suspect, or if you're in a foster care system, that's another one too. If you were in a foster care system at any point, or a ward of the state for quite a bit of time, you also, you may also have been subjected to this program, because it was ongoing, you know. But then again, different factions, of society do know these rituals, because these rituals are occult rituals that you just use on others for dominance, for mind control. And so, of course, this information starts with the occult. And yeah, they studied it in Nazi Germany and was perfecting it, and and you know, experimenting on people. And then they brought the scientists over to the U.S. And so, and then the scientists in the U.S. Set up programs, illegal programs, but they had a secret society over here that knew that knowledge too. It's called dark psychology, though. Those this the sciences itself is reversed engineered from the original monarch mentalism, which I wrote about in my book, The Alternative to Freemasonry. This science was reversed engineered. And so I'm not going to talk about the original monarch mentalism so much in this video, because I don't want to conflate the two, and I don't want the negative connotation that MK Ultra has to bleed onto that. But I do talk heavily in that book about the MK Ultra program, as well as the original monarch mentalism that was for the royal bloodlines, for their rulership. And when that knowledge got stolen and reversed engineered, it was still used on royal bloodlines, but it was used to mind control them, to control them, and also to swipe the identity as well, to bind those identities. And so when you have to look at that surname as well, and look, see if you got a coat of arms. Even if the coat of arms go back to Spain or Ireland or Britain, you want to look at that. Then you want to study the origin of that name. Then go look at throughout your genealogy and see what other surnames you have, and do the same thing. And you'll put the tapestry together. But if you notice your name in certain books that was kept in the Westminster Abbey Palace, which is the British monarch palace, that's when you realize that, you may be put in, you may have been affected by these type of programs. And again, it's very subtle, because if you do one generation, if you MK Ultra one generation, it can last up to 3 generations in terms of passing down the codes through the epigenetics, through the memory cell consciousness. It could get passed down at least to 3 generations, and so those are called bloodliners. And those who the first generation that went through that process, they may not have to do the second and the third generation for it to have the same effect. And so if you grew up hearing your parents or somebody in your family talk about how they face systemic abuse by their parents, and they talk about like how they were trafficked or something, or you have trauma in your family, and that the family is military or something. Like, you may, if you notice those type of things, or if you notice the family come from an occult background or something, and you hear them, they talk about systemic child abuse that they experience, like this, a lot of child abuse, they may, be affected by that. And then it may pass on to the other generation, or to the next generation, even though that generation did not experience that particular traumas. And so again, it's set up, mind control is set up in a way where those who are programmers, they learn a series of occult practices that could be radionics, psychotronics, how to perform sex magic ceremonies, ceremonial magic, satanic ritual abuse, drug administration, neurolinguistic programming. They know they're experts in one or more of these techniques, and they use it on people so they can mind control them. That could be it's rampant. It occurs in politics. It occurs in the music industry and the entertainment industry. It occurs a lot with the secret societies, in certain cults. They use these things on people. Sometimes the people don't even know, especially if you're dealing with radionics and psychotronics, and say somebody wants to do a MK Ultra ritual on you, um, to try to create some sort of brain entrainment with you. They can do that over the airways or through a radionics machine. They don't have to be in front of you. Same with psychotronics. And so, sometimes when people say they feel like they might be under psychic attack, or say they felt the person was thinking about them or something like that, that could be one of them situations. And so, if you suspect, again, you may not even have any concrete evidence, because what happens is sometimes you may get flashback, you may get a break in consciousness, or a lapse in consciousness, where you remember certain things, or you just know certain things, like a floodgate. And then if you try to you don't keep it in, you end up sharing it. But then when you come to come down, you realize, like, okay, oh my gosh, like, what happened? And so those are all things to think about. So you may be aware that you may are a victim of this, but even if not, this video may help, because it does. We talk about, like, how MK Ultra is also used to, like, create alters in someone. So it's not just like the actual aspect of mind control to control what someone thinks, but also the trauma that is used to induce the mind control is there to, like, create an alter, or to create multiple personalities, rather. And so those alters can just be random personalities, or they can be something where someone literally inserted specific entities into that person. So that could be like high level prince demons, or high level deities, or high level egregores into that person, or low level, through that's usually sex magic. That's usually trauma sex magic. Um and so people would be able, people will fragment someone's mind through the sex magic and through the abuse, and be able to insert the fragmentation there, or insert the alters there as well. And then the alters, um again, they're usually split personalities that are not aware of one another. They sometimes, again, they're just have random names, or sometimes if it's like through the occult, like a real, like someone that may have more knowledge of what they're doing, they'll literally attach actual octaves of resonance to. It's usually demonic, from what we see on this planet. And so, yeah, there's people that have to undo their programming. They become aware that they, on some level, are a victim of this, whether that be on a small level or a big level. Sometimes it's just a lapse in consciousness where you just realize that you just programmed. It may not be like, oh, you were put in the MK Ultra program, or a secret program or whatever, but you may just know that, okay, your whole life has been programmed for you, like in a simulation or something. And so this video also helps with that. And for those that have dealt with the more traumatic aspects of this, maybe due to ritual abuse, or someone performing unwanted sex magic on you to fragment you, this video is going to help you clear out those alters, how to integrate that personality. Okay, and so we're going to be dealing with spiritual modalities, and we're also going to be dealing with more physical modalities as well. And again, I'm not making any claims of cure or anything like that. If you do suspect you're a victim of this, no matter how big or small, if you feel you need to seek professional therapy, by all means, and so I'm not in no form trying to make it seem like this video is that case. It's pretty subjective based. And again, with, again, a lot of foster care kids deal with this, people that are awarded a state, uh, those from military backgrounds, those from Masonic backgrounds, those that or are had bloodlines that tied to secret societies and whatnot. You could it's a big chance that on some level you may have been affected by such a program. You know, and so we'll start with more of the physical things. Yeah, we'll start with the physical things, and then we're gonna get into like what this looks like for the royal bloodlines, and then we'll get into the Jaguar, right, in Orlando Brown cold breakdown. Okay, and so the first one, as far as like a modality that we've known MK Ultra victims to use um to undo programming. The first one is the use of like a CBD or like a cannabis. Now we know we talk about like in Revelations, it talks about cannabis being the healing of the nations. Well, there's a healing of the nations when we talk about like mass mind control. But and again, I'm not telling it's a cure. I'm not saying it. I'm not. Don't just do your own research. But we do know that cannabis is one a big one for victims of MK Ultra. And that you can, if you want to know more about that, you can look up Kathy O'Brien's story. Kathy O'Brien, she was the one that gave that information because she was a victim of that program. She was put in that. She was put in that program, and so she went through the therapies and the modalities to undo it. And she said that cannabis was one of the main ones. Another one that you can do is to play the following solfeggio frequencies. Now, this helps clear out any kind of Delta program, but not the Delta Project program, but like Delta sleep pattern program. So it puts your brain more in a driver's seat, but you can play alpha wave, preferably with 963 hertz frequency, 528 hertz frequency, and 432 hertz frequency. Those three combinations with alpha, or just even if you just did 528 and 432, I promise those would be helpful. Ideally all four, but even just getting two or one or two would be fine. Preferably if you can get at least two. You play those, you can go on YouTube and type in 963 hertz. Or then you could type in, go to pick up, open a new tab, and then you could type in 528 hertz. You can open another tab and type in 432 hertz on your YouTube, and then maybe alpha waves, and then play that. And you can play that as long as you want, as long as you're comfortable. The next one that you want to do, once you start to become a, you're actually let's go to this next one is meditation. I would say the next one that is a big recommendation is mindfulness meditation. Not so much transcendental meditation at this stage, but mindfulness, which is meaning that you're becoming aware of your state of consciousness through stillness. You're quiet in the mind, but whatever thoughts come up, you're not in judgment of the thoughts. You're just merely observing your thoughts, having no judgment, not trying to fight it, not trying to control anything. You're just closing the eyes, being conscious of your breath, breathing in and out, being conscious of your breath. And whatever pops up, you observe it and you let it go. You don't identify with it. You don't ponder. You let the mind go to see where it's going to, and it's mindfulness. You're observing the thoughts, no judgment. It's coming and going, ebbing and flowing. Some thoughts may feel good. Some thoughts may feel not so pleasant. You're aware of the emotions. You're building up the mastery of the mind. And then also clearing of the subconscious junk, because your brain does go into like a theta wave, and the theta, that's more of the meditation, and the mind starts to relax. It starts to cleanse itself, starts to reduce, reduce certain chemicals of stress, and also bring into balance the brain chemicals that lead to joy, such as dopamine. It regulates it will balance out your serotonin levels. It will balance out your dopamine and balance out your vasopressin. And so meditation is very much recommended. Even 2 minutes a day, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. If you can even get 5 minutes, that would be ideal, you know. If you can go longer, that's also great. 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. You know, the longest meditation I ever did uh, was 8 hours in a park, in a tree, by a tree, and just zoned out, zooted and booted. I was glorious. And so, that meditation feels good, but not every time, I only need that. Like, I needed to charge. It's like I needed to charge. So I needed to be out at that tree. But, even if you could get 15 minutes and 20, 30, it's never about, it's about the quality, not so much the length. It's about the quality of the meditation and how you feel. And so you type in mindfulness meditation. So maybe you may want to start with a guided meditation, or even a certain genre of a guided meditation. Maybe you want to just work on stress reduction, or relaxation, or abundance, or building confidence, those type of things. But that meditation is it's definitely recommended. Okay. Now, after you start to meditate and you becoming in control of, your thoughts, and, you're not judging them. You're merely observing them. You're not identifying with them. You're not letting them affect your emotional state. Then you could start to work on your visualizations, or in your mind's eye. That's when you want to start to play your theta frequency wave. You go and type in theta wave, THETA, theta wave, type that in. And then you might want to get a writing journal to write out some visuals, to write some goals and some manifestations, or try certain even methods, the 333 method, writing out your stuff 3 times and whatnot, and visualizing while you're playing your theta waves of what you like or what you want to do. And that's when you're working on your meditations. You're playing your frequent, your 963, your 528, your 532 frequency. You're meditating. Now you can start your visualizations and your journaling with your theta wave. The next thing you may want to do is try shungite. Shungite water. Shungite is a volcanic rock. It's not volcanic ash, but it's like a cleansing rock, tantamount to like a high level form of charcoal. But it's a very beautiful. It mineralizes the water, and it cleanses the water. And so it mineralizes the water. And shungite, people wear it to like get rid of like EMFs and whatnot, and balance the Wi-Fi waves around it. So people will buy shungite for that too. But you can put that in your water, and you let it sit for 8 hours, and then you can drink that shungite filled water. It's going to mineralize it. It has plenty of minerals in it. And it's also going to cleanse it because it absorbs toxins. And so shungite water is good at detoxing metals and detoxing drugs and detoxing waste, out of the body. And so shungite is another one for you, especially if you were in the MK Ultra program where you were given medicine, or given, things that you didn't even know you should take. And so that would be another one. The next one is parasite cleanse formulas. So that could be your wormwood, your par de arco, your black walnut, your oregano, your papaya seeds. Okay. The anything that cleanses out the parasite, pumpkin seeds, garlic, and so the parasite cleanse, that also will help, because if, especially like say if you had like some sort of nanite technology, a lot of people they get like they'll get some nanite technology in them, and so they, you know, or nanobot, you know, self formulating nanobot. And this actually has, there was a lawsuit that filed that won this case, so this is not just a conspiracy. Like there was a lawsuit that a lady filed that proved that there was like nanobots inserted illegally into her without her knowledge, as a part of like some form of mind control programming. And so she had won her case. They proved it. The doctors confirmed it. They had to do that. They showed it on like the X-rays and the pictures of the nanobots assembling in her. And you know, she won her case. And so you may need these parasites cleanses, glutathione, NAC, you know, and again, I'm not making no claims. I'm saying do your research. But you know, that's known to kind of flesh out, you know, like that type of technology, you know, especially the old school one. That was the old school days. A lot of that stuff when they was experimenting with them nanobots like in the 70s and 80s, that shit kind of died out on its own. So if you were like, if you suspect you were in a program, like especially if like maybe like I literally had, I know a person that had told me that they suspected that they like some chip was put in them when they was a kid, and they was telling me about some nanite stuff. And I remember I was looking at them like they had lost their mind. But now that I'm more aware, I'm kind of, you know, like, damn, I wish I would have took them more serious. But you know, that's like when she said that, I was like, what you talking about? She was like, yeah. And then another person came forward and said this. I'm like, what in the world? But there's people that file lawsuits on that. There's people that, you know, and won. And then it's something that have heard multiple citizens. There's shows on it. I want to say the 4400. Yeah, the 4400. That's a show. They talk about nanites, and that show came out in 2004, right? When did the end of the 4400 come out in 2004? Or 2000. It's old, and they was talking about nanite technology that is shot that you give them a shot and then they start to hijack your consciousness. They was talking about that shit in 2004. So you know, it's not too far fetched. And so you know, parasite cleanses are excellent for that. I actually, because I take a couple things. Let me get. Man, they got a couple of stuff that's really good out there, you know, that people can look into as far as, you know, parasite cleanse. They got a bayberry root, clove, bud, black walnut is always a big one. Black walnut hulls is usually going to be in all of your parasite cleanse. Caprylic acid, paw de arco, grapefruit seed extract, of course, and then garlic. And then for maybe if you were looking more um, to deal with your liver, you may want to do the skull cap and dandelion, milk thistle, fennel, Chinese peony root, wild yam root extract. Mm-hmm. Dun quai root. And this I take that. You ever shaking it? I had that, I take that, you know, and so, you know, that's just for those that's really trying to detox from, you know, nanite organisms that could be programmed. And some of that stuff just being probiotic, you know, you'll be shocked. Like, and there's research on this that even a certain probiotic organisms can alter brain chemistry and the way you think. It's a known thing because your gut flora determines, you know, your brain chemicals to an extent. Let's be real, your gut flora, that's something you can research and look up yourself. Your gut flora, like a lot of your nerves are in your gut, most of your nerves. And so acetylcholine is developed in the nerve. That's the fluid that flows up the spine that connects to your psychic brain, your pineal gland. Acetylcholine is developed in the gut. You know, that your levels of depression could be determined by your gut health. As we, yeah, I ain't saying nothing new. Y'all already know that. And so that could be something that also you want to make sure to be on the up and up when dealing with being a victim of mind control of any kind. For the spiritual aspect, though, like for something more serious, you for those that say they maybe they want to say, for those that were in a satanic family, and then you want to get cleared out, you want to clear out altars, or you want to integrate your personality more. Obviously the meditation is going to help, but say if you're open to, say, a religious modality, you can tap into the Holy Spirit. See, the Holy Spirit, it makes you whole. It clears out altars, and it integrates the personality. It gives you back a blank slate, because the Holy Spirit is the pole of creation. So that will be where Creator God sits. The Holy Spirit is more of a divine feminine essence for me. It is a pole of creation energy, a primordial energy before light, and still in its abyss state. It's the rawest potential of creative energy, that is all sentient, that is infinite, and ultimately highly evolved, highly evolved in intelligence. And so we talk about needing to have a clear out of altars, a clear out of entities, a clear out of demonic entities. Maybe if you've come from a satanic family that abused you, or touched you inappropriately, insert altars in you, did things to you systematically, got you brainwashed, took you in programs, or you come from a military background. If you just need to clear out all that trauma, clear out altars, or even learn to regulate the altars. Sometimes, you call upon the Holy Spirit, you and she'll clear out all of that. It cleanses out in tranquil altars, due to the lack of integration, because that's your reboot. Like when the Holy Spirit fills you with an essence that reboots and resets the brain. It's like rebooting the brain. It's given like a reset, and like how you reset your computer or reboot your computer. You go into the pole of creation, which is that dark energy, divine feminine energy, to be born again, to be resurrected. And so they're victims of Monarch programs, especially even priests of Melchizedek, believe it or not, had issues with the same thing, with their families putting them in the Monarch program, because this affects mainly a lot of the royal bloodlines, mainly bloodlines that took pacts with uh through oaths with satanic entities, as well as those in certain secret societies and whatnot. So in terms of like the original Monarch mentalism, you were dealing with archetypes, but you were choosing the archetypes, and it was not trauma induced. There were no altars to be inserted in you. It wasn't something to control or mind control someone. It was more so like, what archetypes do you need to run an empire? And what energy do you need to be able to tap into? What dimensions do you need to be able to tap in at will to get information, high level information, that is needed for schematics, that is needed for creativity, governance, ideas, ritual, new sciences, new inventions, whatever. And you can do that as a team, or you can do that as an individual. But there was a series of processes. I talk about this in my book, The Alternative to Freemasonry, what that looks like. And so it's heavy stuff. But like if someone, like, if they know that they have like different personalities and whatnot, for more of the for clearing out of the altars, or clearing out of these different entities, especially if you're a victim of sexual abuse and this has occurred, the Holy Spirit, a simple prayer to the Holy Spirit, uh it's a rebooting. That's a primordial essence. It's a primordial energy. So just think of the pole of creation, of where you could possibly come from, the highest form of where this all started, how this all started, how it all got created, how it all, that level. That's a high level, very primordial first level. Like, it's like you're going to the dome asking for that reset and that reboot of your computer brain, clearing out all viruses, all junk mail, all programming, all anything that does not need to be there. And you're transmuting it. And then you may even want to ask Holy Spirit to correct the programming, or to put in archetypes that will help you live out your truest purpose and your truest desires, truest goals that are in alignment with the will of God. And so, you know, certain bloodlines, certain families, their child, or the children may have been secretly sold to the government or in CIA programs, or the family may be from like an occult bloodline, and they may have sacrificed the child's birthright to, like, say, certain deities. That could be a goddess from any pantheon. It could be Oya, it could be whatever. Whether or not that deity asks for that is not even the issue. That's obviously, that for the most part, no. But this is the practices that some people may have thought were warranted. And so, you'll hear stories of, like, some women will say, oh, I was sacrificed to a war god. And sometimes those war gods, say if it's like a Sekhmet, or say like a Kalima or something, where those practices would be kind of odd to them. What was happening is they were just taking those victims that were being given to them and teaching them the original monarch mentalism. Not all bloodlines. You have to be chosen for that. It's a very high level of information to have, because that is a person that gets access to like a galactic level database, a universal level database of quantum information from every dimension, omniverse, exoverse. They got access to the exoverse. They got access to chaos intelligence realm, which is the polar creation realm. They got access to all the different dimensions that they need to get to. And so you have to be chosen for that. And they were teaching original monarch mentalism. Pretty much any sort of alter or traumas that anyone tried to do, it will get immediately deleted. And they were able to create channels of the mind, of the brain of the victim, and take them literally to a whole nother dimension and train them in their sciences, their knowledge, their ways, their military, their priesthoods, their whatever it was. Because again, you're creating when someone is in trauma, or when someone is going through something, or if someone's been in those type of programs, that trauma is created. And then that's when the mind starts to split and venture into a different dimension to deal with that trauma. And for those who were chosen to learn the original monarch mentalism from the god that they were sacrificed to, they would be taken to that dimension to learn the proper monarch mentalism, have the complete wiping of any traumas original. They have completely zero memory of it, and that's by design. That was to protect them. They have zero memory, and even if you try to ask for those memories, it's a no. It's a no. But the payoff of is being able to know the original monarch mentalism, the secrets of it, the nature of how it works, the power of it, and the power of it is incredibly something out of this world that can never ever be bought or given freely. That's something that they decide, and only a victim that they took great compassion on would be chosen. But also the soul of that person is considered the life reviews, the past lives, all of that is considered as well. And the work that they do, or even who they were in a past life, maybe the clearance of the soul is actually already old enough to be able, had earned to learn that level of information. Because monarch mentalism prepares you not only to be able to create parallel universes, interdimensional travel through consciousness, quantum teleportation, quantum entanglement, quantum superpositioning, astral travel, while in consciousness, through the exoverse, multiverse, omniverse, the creation of egregores, creation of dimensions, the creation of the control over other dimensions, the control over planets. It's pretty wild shit. And so they're not going to just teach anybody no monarch mentalism. You have to have earned it. And then sometimes they also create chimeras where they want to cover out, carry out recognizance missions in someone else's planet, on someone else's turf, going through their system, going through their becoming a citizen, going through their schools, learning their ways, learning everything about them to carry out, to know what it is like for this experience to carry out a recognizance mission on this planet for some of the beings, some of the human beings that need it, and so again, that's one thing. To learn more about monarch mentalism, the original, you do have to get the book, The Alternative to Freemasonry, that I had wrote. That book teaches the original version of that, not obviously the way that they teach it, just what the original means and stands for. Obviously, the knowledge of teaching that, I don't have the clearance to do that, or the the power to teach the intricacies of what that of how that is. You get the basics. You get the basics, and you get the human level version, the Earth version clearance for the Earth. You get the Earth version. But yes, for those that are more so don't care about archetypes and dimensions and all that stuff, then you could just ask Holy Spirit to help integrate your personality, all your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, your auto conscious mind, your ego, to become completely in tune with yourself, to know who you are, to appreciate who you are, to love your soul, and to recall your energy, reclaim your energy, and call back your soul from manipulation and from your time and energy. Call back your DNA. Cancel out the plans of whatever someone has against you, and build that relationship with that primordial Godhead, or the creator God, or Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call her. But connecting to that. And for me, that's like the pole of creation of creator God, being born again. And for me, for those of us that were at a certain level, also the ability to know about archetypes, to know how to program a matrix through the divine feminine. Okay. And as some of us, if you know that you are a descendant of the priest of Melchizedek, or say like a descendant of Sephardic Moorish bloodline, or bloodline of certain tribes, what's the other one? Mason bloodline, Chaldean Magi bloodline. You may want to know more about the archetype building. There's a lot of people that people suspect was a victim of the Monarch program. A lot of people suspect many of the Disney kids, the Disney stars, they're not Disney stars, but like child stars, are victims of these type of programs. And it's unfortunate, again, because it involves like this occult aspect of it. And there's a satanic aspect of MK Ultra, which is using more so the rituals. Radionics, psychotronics is the occult aspect, and then there's like the more governmental aspect, where it's like you've been put in a systematic program, or a secret program, possibly without your knowledge, and you're being groomed through a series of various techniques for control, for mind control. It could be, they have like this thing called Manchurian candidates, where people are groomed to take out other people. There's Project Delta, there's Beta, there's MK Search, there's Project Phoenix, there's all different types of different, levels of this stuff. And so it can be a lot. And so the Holy Spirit is definitely one way. If you look at like we talk about, like, this is hard to get into in this. I don't even think it's worth getting into it in this video, but Like I said, a lot of those that come from the priest of Melchizedek, a lot of them end up having to deal with um, having multiple altars. Not everyone, but I'm just saying. And so I personally know that when I'm looking at uh, reading through some of the aspects of the Bible, I can see some things that relate to it. For one, it's a psychology book. Let's be real; it is a big psychology book, anyways, on at least archetypes of the mind, fragmentations of the mind, conquering the mind. Because fear is a mind killer. Facing your fears, facing the shadow side, psychotronics, intergalactic mentalism. That's why many of the teachings of Yeshua, it deals with the believing of the mind. It's a man thinketh, so is he. So powerful. It's really deep if you look at it as a psychology book. But even if you look at like the 12 disciple, the characters, now we know that those are that represent the 12 cranial nerves that uh, assist the once the vagus nerves get activated through the crossing of the Ida and the Pingala. That's really what the Jesus on the cross stands for. The 12 cranial nerves. But it's an analogy, but there's some truth to it. If you study the 12 disciples personality, you get the dimension or the what they represent of the subconscious mind. It's about the 12 cranial nerves that lead up to the Vegas. When you think of the personalities of each of the 12 disciples, that represents an archetype, that represents a dimension of consciousness. And I wrote about that in one of my books. That is also the alternative Freemasonry. I wrote about that in that book, where we cover what dimension each represents of the disciples as relates to the actual nerve, you know. And so it's a code for that. It's totally a code, and that's why it's a psychology book. I'm telling you, it really is. In terms of clearing out altars and integrating the mind, and that's why when Jesus says, "I leave you this Holy Spirit," we're talking about a primordial spirit. It does has like the I want to go so deep, but then I don't want to like freak people out. No, we can't. Again, you have to get my books to get that type of that information. I can't be saying all of that on here, but yeah, the Holy Spirit will help clear that out. Another one, say if you want to get like say if you know you would say you belong to a satanic family and you know you had like some demonic possession, um you may want to play the Aramaic prayer, uh and the Aramaic version of the Lord's Prayer. That's what I'm trying to say. The Aramaic version of the Lord's Prayer. And then you can also do Rukia. Rukia is like Islamic verses to get rid of jinns and also curses and black magic that could reside like in the organs, like of the lungs, the liver, the intestine. The Rukia, there's a series of Quranic verses that are recited usually in a musical cadence that drive out jinns, and jinns are like um, entities that usually can reside uh, in a person for nefarious reasons. So it could be as a result of someone doing black magic or someone trying to that's usually the effects of psychotronics, believe it or not. When someone has jinns infested in them, particularly like say the organs or the lungs and stuff, that's usually because someone is using psychotronics on you. And so Rukia deals with very good for psychotronics. And that's been known for thousands of years. They've been you can go on Google right now and type in Rukia. That's Rukyah. As soon as you type that in, you'll start to see different types of Rukias. They got some for like just evil eye, for just black magic, for to get rid of jinns, to get rid of metaphysical diseases like say back pain or jinns in the lungs or the stomach, or it's interesting, but it's cool. I've been using. I love that Rukia. And again, even if you just think you have small amount, you don't have to have necessarily been in an MK Ultra program, but like if you know that you're dealing with, uh, say a cult that try to mind control you, any form of mind control, any type of mind control that you ever dealt with, this will be beneficial. The last thing that I want to talk to you about is like the philosophy. That book is deals with programming of the mind, reprogramming of the mind, of your own mind, but also undoing programming of the mind as well. And so this is the esoteric studies department, but we do have. I wrote a book called The Naki Philosophy in 2020, and it was me how to become aware of my state of consciousness at a moment, a notice, and to explore what is it within the human condition that finds it dissatisfactory as it relates to the the surroundings, my environment. So I was thinking of like the way the mind works, but I was also thinking of like how does one first develop awareness of their consciousness? Like how do you meditation? Like what could be a technique that you can develop to understand your actual state of consciousness in real time, and to understand the information, the moments, and the experiences that are actually programming that state of consciousness. How do you break that process down? How do you undo mind control programming and take over your subconscious mind to integrate it with your conscious mind for peace of mind, for great tranquility of the mind, to feel that peace, that nirvana while literally in a physical consciousness, physical state still? And how can you reach the state of consciousness you want that will help you manifest your desires, you know? And so the Naki philosophy is intergalactic mentalism in that it breaks down those processes of meditation into one where you're understanding the processes of the heart and mind, because you're understanding what content is currently flowing through it that's going to shape your consciousness. Now, when we're saying content in a Naki philosophy, that's called V2. When we say content, we're talking about information, data. What is that information? That is your experiences, your childhood upbringing, the programming, the things you watch, the the way people treated you, your status, your pedigree, your rate. Those are information, is content. And the content is outside of the self. It enters the self, but it is not the self. So information enters into your awareness, but it is not your awareness. And so you have to pick the information that you want to enter your awareness to program your own motherfucking reality. And so that's what the Nakti philosophy is about. How do we understand the chambers of the mind, the different levels of the mind, of my interdimensional self, and what is programming it? What is programming my mind? That's where you start. What's my state of consciousness right now? And what's programming that state of consciousness? Is it high or is it low? And then so you do that through that sets of selfment chart. That's called the chambers of self chart. We're gonna look at this chart very soon. That's the chart. That's the chambers of self chart. But let's go back up here. And go right back up here. So the chambers of self chart, that's the key to unlocking your consciousness, which unveils the four chambers. That's your files, your ROM, your hard drive, and your motherboard. Now, guess what? Your files represent your conscious. That's what you see in your everyday reality. That's the programming that's around you, such as your status, your race, your pedigree, your job occupation, your class. That's the stuff that you are readily aware of, that you're aware of in real time. Your gender. But guess what? It's still content. That's the content that enters the first file of the chambers, which is your files, but it is not the self. Okay, it just entered in the one of the chambers of the mind. When you talk about the race, oh, I'm a black person. Oh, I'm a that's the black person. The black thing is the content. That's the information. It enters into the file because that's something you readily know, you're aware of. It enters into the self, but it is not the self. It entered into your awareness, but it is not your awareness. That's your conscious mind. That's the files. The second one is the RAM. That's the subconscious mind or the autoconscious. That's your repressed memories, your childhood memories, the emotions that are attached to those childhood memories. What you did, were you abused as a child? Were you loved as a child? Your emotional upbringings, the events that you did which, as a kid, your memory. It's more of your long term memory. That's your RAM. That's the second chamber of the mind. Your third chamber of the mind is the hard drive. That's your emotional body. And that the emotional body is more so of your ancestral memory and generational memory. The generation of what your family went through, the generation of what your grandparents went through, and that could be generational and ancestral. On the that affects the emotional body. And that is the emotional aspect of the body of the mind. It's not necessarily the same thing as like when we talk about traveling through the interdimensional selves, which is a chart that I also just released. Now, the last part of the mind is the motherboard. That's more so of the ethereal. That's the information. The ethereal is the stuff that affects the information that affects the soul level. That can also be an element of ancestral, but that can also be certain traumatic experiences and maybe even an out of body experience or enlightenment experience. It could be a deep ethereal experience out of body, usually out of body, astral, something that helps you develop a spiritual gift, even, or unfortunately, sometimes more of the traumatic stuff because this is all content. This is we're seeing the different files of we're seeing the different chambers of the mind. What's entering the chambers of the mind on each level? You have to determine which level. Is it your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, your emotional body, or your ethereal body? You have to determine that based on the experiences that you determine is auspicious or inauspicious. What does auspicious means? Good for you. What does inauspicious mean? Bad for you. What content, what information entered your chamber of your mind? Which level of the chamber did it affect? Did you think it was good or did you think it was bad? Do you want to transmute it? Do you want to let it go? Okay, now you feel that your chamber of self chart. And now you want to say what state of consciousness do you want to be at? You look through the V2, the information that you want to program your new state of consciousness, and add that information into the brain. Then you organize all aspects of the chamber of the mind through the physical level, the mental level, the emotional level, and an energetic level in one direction using new action that will point to the integration of the new information to manifest it quicker. This can be done in nanoseconds, take it longer, and now you can write out the process. It's a workbook. Like you can actually sit and carve out what the fuck is in your mind, program in your mind. This is if you want to undo that program. This is a more advanced. This is more advanced. So you do the other materials that we went through over together, and then you embark on the Nakti philosophy. If you get this down pat, you're able to control the actual frames and scenes of your life as they're happening, as you want them to. The frames and scenes of your reality, your individual reality. Now we're about to come out with Nakti Philosophy 2.0. That's how to program the matrix of whatever dimension you in a program the matrix of everybody's reality, the collective reality. That's how to create an ideal parallel universe. And so if you're not ready for Nakti Philosophy 2, you haven't done Nakti Philosophy 1. And so Nakti Philosophy Part 1, once you fill out that Nakti the chambers of self chart, You unshackle yourself from the cycle of identification with the content that's outside of yourself. All content while you're in this physical body, yo, everything that's outside of you, of your physical senses, while you're on this physical body, is considered content. It's considered information, data. We call that V2. It enters the chambers of the self, but it is not the self. It enters the chambers of the mind, but it is not the mind. And so what you want to do is determine which information, inauspicious, auspicious, what experience, what levels of the mind did it affect? Did it affect my conscious, my subconscious, my emotional, or my soul level? Do I want to transmute it? Do I want to keep it? I want to transmute it. Okay, delete. We do the meditation techniques to delete that. And then we go through the techniques of adding the new information, which is through the change of the perception. Now, again, the Gnostic philosophy also teaches you how that information is all outside of you. It gives rising moments to fleeting, it gives you rising fleeting moments of joy and sorrow. Why? Because of the non-acknowledgement of information's state, what we call content. We call this V2. You see it right here. Non-acknowledgement that content is impermanent and it is duality. And then you become identified with it. So what does that mean? Information that's outside of you while you're in the physical body, it's either always changing, which is impermanent. It's always changing. And it's always going to be dualistic, meaning it's either going to be good for you or bad for you. That's the state. That is the primal state of information. Impermanence and duality. Ever changing, inauspicious or auspicious. When we say duality, that means good or bad. It's just inauspicious, unauspicious to you. You get to determine that. Then the second reason why it causes the non-acknowledgement of contents, impermanence, and duality, and the second reason why it causes dissatisfaction with the human experience is identifying with V2. If V2 or if content is always impermanence and duality, it's always changing and is either inauspicious or auspicious, then you can never become identified with it. That's breaking down the essence of meditation, of looking at a thought but never becoming identified by it, observing it but never judging it, realizing it's outside of yourself. That is just information but you're being more conscious with the Gnostic philosophy and say, I'm going to program. What can I use to program my state of consciousness with, given my experiences, my environment around me, the information around me? What can I use to program my mind with to get a new state of consciousness that I want, to get to the next level, or to manifest what I want, or to get rid of or transmute a state of consciousness? So that non-acknowledgement that content is impermanence and duality, and then you're going to identify with it, you're going to cause human suffering. You're going to cause unhappiness because you're becoming identified with content and information. People are letting their jobs dictate their value, their money dictate their value. They're letting their school determine their value. What's prestigious? What's this? They're valuing homes over people. They're valuing things and material things over people. That's identifying with it because it's ever changing. If a hurricane come and knock your house down or whatever, it's ever changing. Oh, your moment has changed. It's either dualistic, and it's always dualistic because it's either auspicious or inauspicious. Obviously, you say you identify with your house. You identify having a big house, $500,000 house, whatever. You identify with it. It's a material thing. Hurricane come, boom, cracks it open, bang, splits it open. That was a change. That was information. That was content. That is impermanence. It changed. The circumstances changed. It was dualistic because you're most likely going to say, oh, that was inauspicious. That was bad for me because now your motherfucking house is fucked up. And you got to pay for a new one. And so you identify with it. So you put value on it. And so now it's affecting your state of consciousness. Now are you stressed? Now your emotions in state of is in flux. You don't have control over your state of consciousness. You're letting the V2, the content, control your state of consciousness. You're letting the information, the outside, control your state of consciousness instead of you controlling your state of consciousness with the information. And you do that by not becoming identified with it. Don't become identified with it. Once again, an observation becomes real once you what? Measure it or observe it. And so if that's V2 you don't want, don't motherfucking observe it. If that's information you don't want, don't observe it, transmute it, don't become identified with it. Realize that the nature of circumstances, the nature of information, the nature of content, which is anything that is outside of you while you're on a physical body, it is impermanence and it is dualistic. Determine, when we talk about duality, remember, inauspicious or auspicious. Was it good for you? Was it bad for you? Okay, so you want to break yourself from cycles of identification to liberate your essence from the confines of information that's outside of you. And by not identifying with the content of the mind, you don't want to identify with the content of the mind because the content of the mind is what? Impermanence and dualistic. And emphasizes that content will permeate the self, but it is not the true self. External factors always remain content, data, information that adorns the canvas of existence, but it does not define the essence beneath. Okay? So this is my body of work, the Nakti philosophy. This is my body of work. I've created this book. You guys get the book. Now there's a whole book. We just going through the damn website, but there's obviously a whole book on this. 109 pages long. You can even get it for free. People think I'm crazy giving you guys it for free, but it was highly shadow banned. I'm highly shadow banned because this information is highly, it's highly valid. They know. They let me know. They put me on watch list. They monitor everything I do because they like, what the hell how the fuck did you figure all this out? I don't had the phone calls. I don't had to deal with all this shit behind the scenes, behind even producing that book. And taking the hits for producing that book. And it's very ahead of its time. It says coming civilization. And so the next step after we realize the nature of V2, we did our chamber of self chart. We now understand what's programming our mind. Matter of fact, let's look at the chamber of self chart right here. Step 1. Okay, we already went through. You're going to deal with the impermanence and duality of life by learning to transmute your mind's inauspicious content to practicing equanimity, mental calmness. Okay, so you're doing your self-assessment right here. Chamber of self chart. Files, ROM, hard drive, or motherboard. Auspicious or inauspicious. Go through your life right now, through your mind, and sit and decide what is programming your conscious mind. The files. What is programming your subconscious mind? The ROM. That means you got to go through your life experience, child experience, and pick what's the first thing that comes up. What's programming your emotional body from the hard drive? That's your ancestral memories, generational memories, oral histories, generational traumas, ancestral traumas. Put it there. Auspicious or inauspicious. Auspicious means was it good for you? Inauspicious means was it bad for you? Then you go to the motherboard. Motherboard is your soul. Pick up the things. What affected your soul on a certain level? Was it auspicious or inauspicious? Was it good or bad? Maybe unfortunately you don't have too much traumas, but maybe you overcame a drug addiction. You had an out of body experience. You almost died in an accident. You put those things there, and you determine. Okay, you could put multiple things there, and you determine which one you want to keep, which one you want to transmute. If the inauspicious content, it may you drive strength from it, you may want to keep it, or you may want to transmute it. Okay. Now we already went through. Now you understand. Now you got to understand. Now you understand the nature of content. You see right there in this chart. There's fleeting moments of happiness. The auspicious moments tell you that there's happiness. The inauspicious moments tell you that there's sadness through the inauspicious chart. You're looking at your state of consciousness. You're seeing which levels are affected. The files, the subconscious, the conscious, the subconscious, the emotional body, the spiritual body. And you're seeing for yourself that content that is outside of yourself, the experiences that are outside of yourself, are causing fleeting perceptions of happiness and distress, and that the emotions are constantly in flux. That is what caused fleeting perceptions of happiness and distress. The non-acknowledgement that what? V2, remember V2 is content information, is impermanence and duality. And the second reason is identifying with it. Remember, impermanence means that all things and experiences only last for a period. It's always changing, always changing. And dualistic means your emotional state of being, which leads you to perceive the information as auspicious or inauspicious, as good or bad in the chambers of self. Okay? So then we go to step 3. Do not identify with the content of the mind. Remember, information is entered the self, but it is not the self. Everything that is outside of yourself, it was influenced by the information while you are in a physical damn body, especially during childhood. So, for instance, the files chambers of the self graph may list your degree, your occupation, your race, your status as information. It is not the self, though. It is content outside of the self, but it is not the self. So, individuals are reminded that content enters the self, but it is not the true self. It is not your true essence. And so remember, you have acknowledgement that V2 is duality and permanence. Remember, content information is duality and permanence. And you are not identified with it. So there's no more fleeting perceptions of happiness and distress. There's tranquility of the mind. That don't mean you don't get triggered, because again, what's the next step? Choose V2 for transmutation. So now you got to choose new information for your transmutation through a conscious selection. And you're gonna choose auspicious V2 that aligns with your desires. Auspicious content that aligns with your desires, or the state of consciousness you want. Maybe you don't need desires. Maybe you are a guru. Maybe you are enlightened and you don't need desire. You don't have desires, right? Because you don't have to have desires in this philosophy. And if you do have desires, then you think of the consciousness that will get you that. And that choice is influenced by the state of consciousness represented by the pyramid of Kupanda right here. And that is the various levels of consciousness. And guess what? Within each level, you got to get the book. There is myriads of information that you program yourself with. So right now, you just see the word CAM. That means base. That's the earth. That's the lowest of the level consciousness. That's unawareness. That's ignorance. That's people who are like jealous hearted, that low level consciousness, not thinking of other people and all that. That's the base level. There's myriad of consciousness. There are people that want to choose to be at that level. The next one is the earth level. That's a level where you do things pretty much to survive on planet Earth. It's a decent level of consciousness. It's not concerned with too much awareness or high level loftiness. It's just survival. In the book, there is myriads of content. A myriad of content that fits the Earth selection. You have to look at the V2 underneath that level. It lists dozens of them, but we don't have space to put that on the website. The next one is the mindfulness. That's at the state of consciousness where you want to be mindful of your actions and what you're doing. Remember, there's thousands of V2, because we talk about information at that level to get mindfulness. Millions of terabytes of data. Remember, V2 is information, content, data to program. It's like programming a computer. The next level is the magician level. That's where you want to manifest at will, where you are manifesting, where you're concerned with being the creator of your reality on a level that is above just mindfulness. Now you're working on the manipulation of the law of thermodynamics around you. You're working with the manipulation of your electromagnetic field around you. The magician level. Again, there's millions of terabytes of data within the magician level. You got to get the book. And then you got to truly sit and understand what data it would even fit the category of the magician level. Then you got the wise level. Those are ones that ebb and flow. They know how to manifest at will, but they kind of pass the desire stage, and they're looking more so for, more of the hermit lifestyle, or more of ascetic, and they're winding down, and they're truly understanding what the consciousness is all about, and they're ready to transcend. The next level is the equanimity level. That's the calmness of the mind. They don't really have no desires at this level. See, the wise one may still need to have desires at that level. At the equanimity level, it becomes less important. You are ebb and flowing. You're dealing in and out of the matrix when you want to. You close the eyes. You can travel to dimensions that you want to. You can create dimensions. You know how to calm the mind. And again, there's a meditation that goes with it. The next level is the kupita. That is transcendence. That is no ideas, no thoughts, no desires. There is peace, bliss consciousness. That is the bliss state of consciousness. That's experience of God within, kingdom of God within, experience of enlightenment, peace, joy. Though you experience that at the Busara and Sour level too. You experience that at the wise level and equanimity level too. But this is bliss consciousness. And that is more of that the nirvana state. You have to decide if you're going to become a bodhisattva or you're going to pass on, or if you want to just stay in that state and mind your fucking business and meditate for the rest of your life. And so the concept of equanimity, again, that is recognizing you in controlling the perception of the content that enters the mind. Is to better understand the self. So think of how you would feel if you were stuck in traffic for hours on end, driving home from work. You're going to feel frustrated. You're going to feel annoyed. You're going to feel lack of control. But your perception would be, obviously you would think that is annoying. Now imagine that same traffic, right? Now imagine you are a beautiful bird flying above that same traffic. You're going to feel indifferent about traffic because you're flying directly above it. Your perception of traffic changed instantly, depending on your immersion with it. You can do that with your mind. When you feel immersed, when you are in traffic, you feel annoyed. You feel, oh my gosh. But if you're the bird flying above the traffic, it's not going to affect you. You reach a state of equanimity towards traffic. That's how the mind is. It's like it's changing your perception of information. All this information, all this information. You don't want to identify with it. Identifying with it is going to give you those moments of stress, those perceptions of happiness, those perceptions of sadness and distress because of your immersion with the information. So your dissatisfaction increases. You experience frustration, anticipation, lack of control, like being stuck in traffic. Even in the moments of happiness, they're still fleeting because guess what? Information is what? Impermanence and duality. So one moment you are up in life as the wheel of fortune turns, then you experience a downside. When you change your perception, when the change of perception becomes less identified with it, you know that information's entered the self, but it is not the self. It's just like that bird flying above traffic. You become indifferent to it. You feel no happiness. You feel no distress. You feel bliss. Mind behind mind. Sometimes you don't have to always stay there. I'm just saying what it feels like. I'm just telling you what it feels like. And when you have those moments of stress or when people keep trying to knock you down in life, especially if you're a targeted individual, you get dealing with gang stalking and shit, you got to be able to go through chambers of your mind and get up there above all of that. And no one can, you use Nike philosophy helps with that. Okay. I've been put in the no touch torture program, put down that blacklist and they'll get at your ass. They'll fuck with you. If you want that no touch, if you want that blacklist program. You know what I mean? And so you know what that feels like, and you gotta be able to raise your frequency up to that level. And you can do that through this Naki philosophy. You got to sit with it. You're not gonna get it just from me teaching you this one time. This little thing right here. For one, this is a website. You got to get the whole book, and it's freely available. Now you support me, show me love. Show a nigga love, and just donate a couple dollars, something. But you can get this information for free. This is a labor for humanity, a love for humanity, and a love for myself. God gave this to me in 2020. We sat together. We carved this out. I was a ward of the state. Okay, I was in a foster care program and got adopted. Okay, I didn't have traumas or nothing like that, or no trafficking or nothing like that when I was in foster care. I wasn't abused or anything. I'm not saying that when it was good, it was good. When it was bad, it was bad. It wasn't, it's better than half of motherfucking Americans running around here. That what they had, they parents. So I don't feel like I had much to complain about, but you deal with the things, you deal with things. And then sometimes also for the painful memories of shit, you probably lessen them purposely, for all I know. But I do my bloodline as far as my biological family. I've always kept contact, and I know that we come from a Masonic bloodline. I know we come from a military background, and then we ended up in foster care. And I know that my dad walked away from a secret society, and that stuff started to kind of affect the way I was moving. You know, me, it kind of fell on me because, you know, they go after the kids too when you decide to break your oath. You know, and so I know that, you know, I started to deal with certain things that I noticed. Usually, I would say in 2015, things got weird as far as like, you know, but if I just kept putting stuff out of my mind. But in terms of my work in the Black empowerment space, that's been for quite a long time. And so I think I might have got on the radar at 2015. I just noticed certain things like that just felt like there's constant blockages or just being fucked with, you know. Started in 2015, revved up around 2020 when I got into the reparation space. In 2021, started being more active and really vocal, especially writing books. And that's when it ramped up and things came to a head in August of 2022 when I realized certain rituals and occult stuff that was just being done. I'm very clairvoyant. I have proven clairvoyance on my channel through my weekly tarot videos, and we do a review. We do global events, global things that will happen, and then we review it literally the next week. And if all's coming past, there's no way I can know these things. There is nobody that can feed me information. Anybody that can, you know, that's gonna sit up there and tell me, okay, this is gonna happen, that's gonna happen. I wouldn't know those things. And so even with my reviews from some of my clients, you know, they can attest to. I can at least bring 70 something reviews, at least 70 something now, showing where people have attested to, you know, me knowing something. And I don't know everything. I don't know claim to, and I don't connect with everybody. I can't say I can see into everybody's shit. I can't. And I'm not trying to. But if we connect and you give me permission and you want advice or whatever way I can help, you know, I will do that. And I've proven that on my channel that I can see global events, or at least on a weekly basis. It's very uncanny how accurate that is. It even shocks me. And so I'm studying this stuff myself as I'm a scholar. You know, I'm in a PhD program. I have several master's degrees. And, you know, so I'm a scholar. So I'm like, let's study this shit. My probability distribution science, predictive program versus crafted simulation theory, game theory, information theory, programming, computational algorithm of the universe. What's quantum teleportation? I'm like studying this shit in real time because I'm clearly seeing. I'm studying clairvoyance myself, like on the academic level, trying to understand it scientifically because I'm like this shit is wow. You know, I'm trying to understand how the archetypes connect to simulation, the information of the quantum realm of the damn earth and the damn universe, to where we can see what's going to happen before it happens. It's like looking at information. It's like looking at content, the data, the V2 of the Nike philosophy, you know. And so the Nike philosophy is my IPU. I don't push shit on nobody. I ain't trying to mind control nobody. As you can see, you got to choose your own state of consciousness. You got to determine what experiences were inauspicious and auspicious. I'm not telling you. You got to do that. Now, if you want, you know, you could have a therapist help you out with that, or you say you're a Buddhist or a Christian or something, you have Jesus help you. It's a framework to undo mind control, to understand consciousness, to understand your state of consciousness, and then to see how you want to program it and work with shifting and creating frames in your reality, and through also changing the perception of understanding information and content experiences, and looking at it. This is literally a high level breakdown of what a meditation session is, the best way to write that shit out, you know. And I thank God for this. The next one is our the next step for equanimity is that Gisa Mama meditation. Did we finish this one yet? Okay. You know, let's continue to go with this one first. Oops. Okay, so equanimity, that just means having a balanced mind that is undisturbed by information and the fleeting perceptions that arise, whether they are happy moments or distressful moments. Okay, so all religions usually teach some type of psychological stability. I'm telling you, the Bible is a psychology book. People use it as a grimoire, but the universe is mental. So Woody already told us that. So there's your second key. Psychology book. Lesser key of Solomon, greater key of Solomon, amulets, Book of Psalms, for Chaldean Magi's You got a whole damn. I mean, come on. I mean, you about to get. It's a powerful psychology book. That's why everybody say it's so analogical. But you got to remember, man, the universe is mental, and your perception is your law of optics, and it's hard to explain that. It's like that's something you got to experience. That's why a lot of people don't be understanding the parables Jesus be talking about, because that's either you don't have that moment or you didn't have that moment. And so you're gonna know what somebody talking about. And that sucks, but it is what it is. But most religions, they're teaching about psychological stability, in the enlightenment, nirvana, mashka, the stopping and recycle of them being cloned, and your consciousness of transfer to going back into that white light. To be reincarnated. Maybe you want to be reincarnated. Maybe you want to come back into the body. Maybe you want to go to the processing. Maybe you want to go to a different dimension. Maybe you don't want to, maybe you want to create your own shit, because you don't have to even die. We don't want to get all into that, but you know, the Nike philosophy is unique. It teaches you to become less identified with the information, but you also need to transmute certain information to reach that transcendence. Because remember, when you're in a physical body, you are going to be inundated with V2. You're going to be inundated with information. That's kind of your school, from the media, family, work, etc. But you will never become identified with V2, because you are aware that you need V2 to survive. You need content to survive while you're in a physical body. So you're going to choose content that gets you closer to your desired state of consciousness. But at the same time, don't let your mind be disturbed by emotional phenomenon, whether good or bad. Remember, content, information drives your state of consciousness on planet Earth. That is why you need to use information while not becoming identified with it consciously. Because now you're in a physical body. You need to get things done. You want certain things. You want to look a certain way. So you still have to choose the information that's going to get it to you, but you don't want to become identified with it. And you always want to know that things are changing, and it's either going to be an auspicious or auspicious outcome. Now we're dealing with high level. Now we're going to get a probability distribution. Like, how do you minimize? That's not philosophy 2.0. We're not there yet. And so understand this concept. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what the will of God is, what is good and acceptable and perfect. And so equanimity is akin to not conforming with the world, because you have become less identified with information by changing your perception of it. You don't feel no feelings of happiness and distress. They don't disturb you. So you're not being of the world. You're being transcendent. But you also know you have to transmute the V2, the content that raises your consciousness to the level. So that's akin to the renewal of the mind by continuously assessing the information in the chambers of the self. That's the renewal of the mind, because you can fill out this chart as many times as you want, and maybe once a year during New Year's, so to help you with your goals, to help you undo, or even to help you undo the fragments of the programming. If you really dealt with some serious MK Ultra, you're going to need this in a more systematic form, even with your therapist. One day, I'm just too early. One day, psychologists will use this in the therapy sessions. One day, probably 70 years from now. This chart, this little chambers of self chart, analytical psychologists are going to be using this for therapists, especially when humans start to undo their programming. When they start to break their MK Ultra and realize it, you have to sit your motherfucking ass down and start to look at what's in the conscious mind, what's in the files, what's in the ROM, what's in the motherboard, what's in the hard drive, and sit and write down what's inauspicious, what's auspicious, what you want to transmute. What V2 do you want? What information do you want? Choose that. Okay, now we got to organize. Now we got to do our Gisa Mama meditation. 3 diaphragmatic breaths. Concentration technique is dark energy. That's the Holy Spirit galaxy. Dark energy is a starting ingredient for creating the first galaxies in the universe, and existed before time and space. It is the energy before the existence of the formation of the planets. That's the Holy Spirit. That is the Holy Spirit. Ultimate black primordial mother. Ultimate black creator God of melanin, of entropy, of water, oxygen, even resonance, electromagnetism, even before all that, even before electromagnetism, before that. It's before that. It's before resonance. That means that's before frequency. Like, that's the highest of the highest. Like, go get your motherfucking reboot. Dark energy. Now remember this. You're going to observe all information that's outside of yourself. So you're going to pretend you're that bird above traffic. And you're going to experience the self. You're thinking of the Holy Spirit, thinking of dark energy. You're thinking of the dark energy of the creation of the first galaxies before anything, before the formation of the first, the Godhead. You're thinking of the Godhead. That's going to clear out the altars. That's going to clear out the fragmentation. That's going to clear out the traumas. And then you're seeing all information as outside of yourself. All content, all V2 is outside of the chambers of the self. And that's the analogy of that bird flying above that traffic. And then you're going to experience the self. And that's going to give you that equanimity feeling, because you're going to become less identified with information. And you're going to realize the perception of information. And that's that meditation. Gisa Mama meditation. Hantira Kashila Kasiyataka. Gisa Mama meditation. Dark matter meditation. Dark mother meditations. The Holy Spirit. Now we got step 5. That's the transmutation method. That's the organization of the chambers of the self. You're going to learn to harness your inner power by organizing the chambers of the self, meaning you're focusing all 4 chambers on the new information that's going to act as your drivers for the level of consciousness that you choose from the pyramid of Kupanda. That's going to help you identify less with that information. And so once you choose that information, you want to consciously choose in the chamber itself, you're going to align all 4 chambers of the mind in one direction using 4 dynamics: mental energy, physical energy, ethereal energy, and emotional energy. Just like the Avatar, the show Avatar, Aang off of the little kid, Earth, Wind, Fire, Water. You got to do just like that: mental energy, physical energy, ethereal energy, emotional energy. All chambers of the mind is going to focus on that new direction. And so your mental energy, that's the thought patterns that's conducive to the new information and research. Your physical energy is the actions, must be tangible, and the time spent cultivating the new information. So that could be to start a new business, buy a new car, undo programming, heal from your mother's wound, or whatever it is. It could be anything. You have to choose that. Ethereal energy refers to the range of spiritual modalities that point towards the new V2. That's usually spiritual practices. Emotional energy, maintaining the feeling that the information is already in existence, building a support system of any kind if possible. And so say you wanted to start an essential oil business, your mental energy, you have your mental techniques. That's your research. That's your apprenticeship. That's your education. That's creating your plan. That's your strategy. That's your techniques. So it's your physical energy. That's enacting a strategic plan. That's setting your deadlines. That's setting your milestones. Again, that's just for a business. It could be for anything. What if it's just for healing? What if it's just to get over your ex? What if it's to get over the abuse that you experienced as a kid? You still have to apply those techniques. Only you know those techniques. But this is also something that you could use for something more mundane, because we're all humans at different levels of awareness. And so you can't, it's not a one size fit all. That's why this is a technique where nobody is here to try to tell motherfuckers what to believe. This is what we need to do. This is what's the truth. None of it, or else. This is a framework to help people understand consciousness. That's what it's for. Then you have your ethereal energy. Oops. Then you have, that's your affirmations. That may be your meditations. Maybe you do a visualization. Maybe you do a ritual. Maybe you do a petition. Maybe you do tantra. Maybe you do radionics. Maybe you do psychotronics. Maybe you do, different things with sex magic. I mean, you could do whatever you want in that category. You know what you're comfortable with. You know what you know. Maybe you just want to do prayer. Next one is your emotional energy. That is your imagining. That is your shadow work. That could be your therapy. That could be your ancestral work. Healing of the emotional body. And then you're going to look at corresponding action 1, corresponding action 2, things that you have done. Fill it out to make sure you're on the right track or not. And so, this Nakti philosophy, obviously, I was honest about upfront about who I am with y'all for the most part. For those that can handle with the little bit I did share, the Nike philosophy. This is a book that you can get. We go deep into so much. These are all my books. I got a lot of esoteric books. We got the Nakti meditation book of mantras. We got the Nakti philosophy right here. We got the law of gender, understanding the laws of electromagnetism and the incentivizing of the divine feminine and divine masculine in one another. We got the herbs of medicine and metaphysics. This is a Nakti philosophy. Nakti order is a whole lifestyle. The Nakti Queen Mothership Order, the alternative Freemasonry. So for the men, they just have to say Nakti Order because I don't expect no man to be saying Nakti Queen Mothership Order. The women have Nakti Queen Mothership Order. The men just have Nakti Order. It's the alternative Freemasonry. I'm just so ahead of my time. And so the elites, they be looking like, what the hell is this going on? They try to get rid of me. But now they trying to study this shit now because now that they realize, we don't really took over the mainframe of this damn matrix. And we said what we said. We got the Tantra for the human soul, exploring sexuality for bliss and enlightenment. We got the Nakti Queen Mothership Part 3, the language of the gods and the divine feminine. And so we dead ass serious. We're helping people. Not if you can find the redacted version, if you don't have still willing to help, because you can get the Nakti philosophy right. Because Vaughn, we're gonna do a mini series on this, breaking down mind control, breaking down, this science a lot deeper. But you can get the literally. This is the here go the material right here of the Nakti esoteric sciences. Not all of the material. A lot of the books are redacted, with the exception of the. If you want to get some of the books, now if you have to purchase some things now, you can't get everything for free. That's not fair for me because I already gave y'all a lot. And so you can go right here and then obviously we're not going to wait for this to all load because we don't have time. But that's where you will go and download the Nakti philosophy. Responsive and stuff. So we're not even going to fool around with that. But if you guys want to, you guys will get it. Let's go on to the next part of what we need to talk about because that's heavy. But you can see it right here. AFAS. I already told you guys that was hybrid. I'm a human, but I told you the octaves of resonances that I was as a chimera spirit. I'm a primordial, and I am Jenny Nunn Stanley. I'm not possessed, and I do not have altars. I understand the original Monarch mentalism, which is why I was able to produce all these works. I'm always creating things. I love understanding consciousness and taking here why the earth experience, the life experience before I transmute on to the next state of my consciousness. I'm trying to show y'all it's not loading. We don't gotta just be sitting there waiting for it to load because we do got other things. Now we want to talk about royal names, certain surnames that are connected to the the monarch family bloodlines of Britain. That goes also back to the Roman Empire. I want to make sure that this is still playing. Okay. Yeah, so the Roman Empire, the even further back, and they know exactly, where certain people went, where certain people are, who were they going to enslave and swipe certain identities of, who were they going to switch the birthrights of. That was all done through high-level occult sciences, mainly one of them being masonry, whether that be through the bargaining and bartering of certain birthrights, literally the selling of other bloodlines out, whether that be through slavery or through satanic ritual abuse. sacrifice. Those things have happened, you know, and it's unfortunate. And so a lot of the royal surnames of certain bloodlines that come from Masonic bloodlines, it could be the Knights Templar, going back to the Crusaders, going back to um, certain orders, Order of Malta, Club of Rome, uh, different mystic orders as well, Rosicrucianists. Again, there's many societies that we could name. May not be important to get into all of that, but it's a real thing. And so you'll know that by looking up your last name and seeing if you have a coat of arms, seeing if you have looking at the origin of your name. Is it from Britain? Is it from Ireland? If you're a Black American, you need to do this especially. Mainly, we had a bi-directional slave trades, multiple transatlantic, American Indian, and Pacific slave trade that happened to be bi-directional, and there was a concerted effort by Sephardic Moors, by white slave masters, by Khazars to switch the identities of certain bloodlines, to mix them up in a very methodical way, even where they would even go to even get certain slaves, which tribes would get enslaved on the American soil itself, who would be mixed up and reclassified, misclassified, what tribe they were even going to go and get for the people they did bring from Africa. Where were they going to go and get them from? If that was very specific, it was not just random, because they had to work through the nobility and the brotherhoods and the secret societies of the nobility class that had overthrew the queen mothership and went into descent. And there was curses by oracles and sibyls on multiple bloodlines, not just of the Americas, but of Africa too, for selling out their queen mothers by the noble class. There was a clash over the governance, and it backfired. And there was occult rituals done, and oaths broke, and covenants broke, that fucked up shit that got people sold out. Whether that be one king not liking another tribe and getting rid of them, selling them to Portuguese, or to the Dutch, to the British, to the Germans, whoever, for money, selling they soul. Still doing that shit to this day. It's people still trafficking motherfuckers to this day. And so it ain't nothing new. They just do it private and they getting caught doing that. But they've been doing that shit. And they were practicing. A lot of these people were Masons, and they already knew where the Sephardic Moors was going to be, who they was going to mix them up with, how they was going to infiltrate American Indian soil and get that land, get up off that land. Who wasn't going to play with the program would get sacrificed, whether that be they sell your ass into slavery. Two, there's Black and white folk involved with that, and even white people being set up as the fall guys behind even more powerful bloodlines than them. Even the more powerful, the Black blood behind the blue blood, behind the monarchy, the Venetian Black nobility that likes to hide behind the bloodline families and the royal family. But you will know this again through your surnames. And you got to remember the slave trade was bi-directional. And I'm only talking to Black Americans. I can't really speak too much. I know it relates somewhat to the Caribbeans, though, just from based off of what happened over there as well in certain places like Jamaica and Haiti. And yes, they brought them over there too. There were a lot of Irish that set up shop over in Jamaica, and there, as well as there were indigenous that were over there already, as well as slaves being brought from Senegal in certain places and Benin. And so, there's a multifaceted history only through your genealogy, which is relevant to you as far as that multifaceted. Not all aspects of that history could be relevant to you. It really just may not be relevant to you. If you were a Sephardic Moor with more Black European blood, the talk from about Africa shit ain't gonna be more irrelevant to you. Just like the indigenous talk may not be as relevant. Some of you may be half and half. You may be half an Indian and then half Black European, and then part white and maybe part African. Maybe a serious admixture of all these things. Have some East Indian in you. have some Asian. So it's Black Americans that got some Asian from in their ass. So you got to do your genealogy and focus on what was said in your oral history as well. Look at your genealogy and make it make sense. Look at the towns names, the surnames, the coats of arms, who was around the area that around who the tribes that were once in the areas of where your bloodline descend from. Look at the cemetery that they on. My peoples are buried on the Indian reservation in Indian Town in North Carolina for the last 200 years. Now they weren't all Indians. Some were though. We've been knew that oral history, but that I'm not gonna act like I did that. I also heard other oral histories, or that I seen a lot of white stuff in that on them family trees too, and then seeing some stuff where we thinking that we know it was mixed people in the family, and they always thinking because somebody is mixed that means they had got miscegenation through forced miscegenation. But that wasn't the case, because there was the white women's with the black men's in the early 1800s, even 1700s. And so that tells you that there must have been some damn more somewhere that was a free black person of color fucking some white women's. And so, you got to think of what's going on with that. And that was really confusing, because we talking about 6 generations back. So I was like, how the hell is that possible that this lady, it says white on there? And that's a female's name. And then the male says black or colored or Negro. And so, all these things is multifaceted. Then, some people in my bloodline, that they did the genealogy better than me, and they found all other people, they was going back all the way to Europe. See, I had stopped because they got when you got them databases, you got to whatever you can match up the family trees now with your other family member is doing, and you can look at the work that they've done, the progress that they've made. And I remember looking at some of the progress was further than what I had, because they had found some white cousins, some astronauts from NASA and from South Dakota, some damn where. And I'm like, how did they find them? That they had them on their chart. They had it all worked out. I saw it. They had the same last name as my mom. So I know it's not, they ain't just make it up, because I went and researched it. But I just was like, wow, like how the hell they find all that? But I ain't find, I just took from what was on his chart and looked at it. But yeah, it's deep. And so you got to look at them surnames. And you got to look at that, because now I want to review this right here. I want to review something that I was talking about as far as Black American names in this book called The House of Dimes. Now, we're not about to review this whole video, but we review like how ritual binding occur over people's ancestors in terms of bloodlines, whether that be from Sephardic, Moorish, Black Americans who mixed in with some Indians and Africans or whatever, or who know that they come from Europe or Ireland, that got the coat of arms and traced it back. They know from their own genealogy, from their own ancestral memory, from what their ancestors said. They ain't got to listen to that. None of this shit y'all talking about. And they understand from them coat of arms. And they realize that their name was in this book. Now I'm about to show y'all some shit. We about to look at this, because I'm telling y'all that all Black Americans' names is in this book called House of Dimes. It's called, the book is Domus Day book, means House of God. And it's a book that was with all these names of our, like literally every name in my bloodline's generation, first and last name, going back 1,000 years. Literally, the names just recycled themselves. That's how creepy it is. Even today's time, the names just literally recycled themselves, the first and the last names. And so many Black Americans' names is in this book. It's a heraldry book of the royal bloodlines, though. But why? But look at the way that they had this in Westminster Palace. And I'm about to show you what was on my ID where I was living in America. And mind you, this book has our names and our last names in this book. When I show you, you about to see how like a spell looks and how a spell gets broken. Pay attention to what we about to discuss. Okay? At least for the next 20 minutes. And follow me, because we about to be going through a book called House of God that was in the Westminster Royal Palace. Now, look how this book was guarded. And then after that, I'm about to show you something. Now, remember this Westminster shit. And the names, mind you, I'm telling you that for the last thousand years, looking at my genealogies and the names of all my family members, their names are in this book. It's like it recycled itself. And it wasn't the only one. I looked up all my friends, all the Black Americans that I grew up with in Buffalo, and they names was in this motherfucking book too. Now I'm trying to show you how masonry works, how somebody would swipe your motherfucking identity and get your birthright up off of you. They get the ray in the royal palace and your ass is the fucking slave. But watch this shit right here. And I'm gonna show you my old ID, and I'm gonna show you the grids and the map of where I stayed on that ID. Now your ass gonna try to play me after I show you this. Okay. But let's look at it together. And so we hear these stories all the time of people being amazing, doing good things. Like I gotta wait for the. Let me fast forward it to the 128. Okay, because I don't want to, because I'm just let's just work with me. Okay, right here. We'll start right here. No, they have your genealogy. I told you that every single last name of my family members in the book of the Domesday. Let's look that up. Domesday. You know how many? Same as young Pharaoh's last name is in that book of Domesday. Y'all know that book means house of God. It's a book from the royal bloodline. Let me see if I can find it. Domus. It's a book. Dang, I probably won't be able to find it. Domesday, House of God. And this is a book that Domesday. Maybe if I spell it this way, it'll come up. But it's a big ass book that was locked up in the Royal Palace, House of Abbey, and you should have seen the way. I'm about to look. I gotta find this because I don't want you guys to think that I'm just making this shit up. Damn, what is that book? Books General Armory. Domesday. Maybe if I find it this way. Oh, this is so annoying. I know I could find it's just gonna take me time to do the research to get it. And I thought I had like this stuff saved. I used to have this stuff like saved somewhere. Doomsday. Okay, let's go here. I gotta find this because this book, like the romance, they have every royal bloodline name in this book. King of Arms, maybe it's this one. I'm really trying to look for this book, man. Because my last names of every single last one of on my adopted side, my biological side, my literal biological family's names is in this book. And guess what? So many Black Americans' last names are in this book. And what I'm really interested in showing you is how the book was guarded, how the book was guarded, and the play, the spin that they put out of when they made the book public, eventually hundreds and hundreds of years later, the play that they had. But just me being able to show you the way the book was guarded and how you was able to get access to it and open it. That's when you start to realize, oh, that's some more other shit going on. There's some more other shit going on. And I gotta find this book. But I bet you Salters is in there. It's so many Black American last names that's in there. It's not even funny. But the creepy thing with my family is like the first and last names was in of my parents, both parents, their parents, aunts. It was really fucking creepy. It was really like, what the hell? And so when I had my little episode and people thought, she went out off the deep end. Nah, man, that shit freaked me out seeing this stuff. And then I told y'all how I was getting ancestral visits in dreams from Saint Bernard, and like all this stuff was tied together, and it just threw me for a loop. I was like, wow. And this was the around the time that my biological grandfather had died and came to me in a dream the day that he died. I didn't even know he had died, but he had died. And he come to me in a dream telling me showing me shit like this, coats of arms, stuff about the Knights Templar, stuff about telling me secrets of the Masons, all types of stuff. And I didn't know how to handle all that. That was a lot of information to just dump on a person and then tell me I'm next to, that all that information, the epigenetics, whatever he did, I guess he sent me all that information. I don't know how it works because I'm not dead, but like when he died, something happened through the electromagnetic grid of data information where he connected to me, or he knew, and he came to me in a dream, showed me this information, and like literally he was showing me like coats of arms, stuff like this, like, and that's how I was able to look all this stuff up and get access to it. But I'm trying to look for a very specific book. I find it eventually, guys, but let's just go through the process because all this stuff is related. So I eventually find it. So we just gonna look at it. We ain't gonna review this whole thing though. And again, once I started waking this stuff up and going out there talking about this publicly, a lot of that stuff I already told you. I have proof of the website. I have screenshots of the original website of the crestorg.com, crestarms.com. I got the original screenshots of this shit. You go to that website, you get none of that information. Nope, they took it all down, guys. They took it all down. So it's not like, oh, this is a conspiracy that you're trying to. Nope, they changed. No. As soon as I went not viral. As soon as I went public with that shit from that damn website, I'm telling you, overnight they took that stuff down. And they said it was under construction. We thought they would bring it back. I went and looked it up again. It's all gone. That's how I was able to crack all them codes. And I'm about to show you, look at once we find the name of this book, where this book was located, and I show you my ID in the areas around that ID where I stayed at, and what was going on in that area, your mind about to be like blown. Watch this part though. Like they went and started altering shit because they didn't want other Black Americans running around going to find what I found. Because they switched our identity. They pretty much did a play. It's a Masonic stealing of spiritual credit that they did on our whole entire bloodline, and Black Americans are not realizing it. I realize it. That's why I'm like, oh shit, I definitely ain't. That's why all this stuff was happening with these. And again, I can't say this relates to everybody. I cannot say this relates to every Black American. I can only speak for me and my experience, and my ID is about to show y'all that. But I can only show y'all, I can only go for mine, but I do know that just from me researching, I have researched all my Black American friends, their last names too, and noticed the same pattern, and their parents' names, and noticed the same shit. So that's why I said I do think it relates to more than just me, but I don't think it's necessarily, I don't want to put it all on everybody because some people are more Indian. They don't have that European or that Black European connection. They just have more Indian, or they more Africans. I'm not here to try to tell people what they is or what they not, but let's keep going. Bloodlines and the royal, that's why you see all this stuff happening to them, because it's a change of guard. The rightful heirs and the inheritance is going back to the rightful heirs. And I'm telling you, our names is in that book, and Black Americans are the rightful heirs. And again, obviously there's other bloodlines as well that's involved in it. I'm not saying it's all Black Americans. Yes, there are Irish people in that book. Yes, there are white people in that book. But I'm saying a lot of the rightful heir of the bloodlines of the true royal family, Black nobility, is found in the Black American lineage. I don't care how crazy I try to say, oh, she this, she that, she that. And that's why you're going to see certain ones like the Aaron Salters, you're going to see motherfuckers getting knocked off. Damn, I got to find that book. I'm going to find it. I'm talking right now and then trying to research, and that's not helping. But I'm going to find Order of the Bath. Wasn't this one in it? Because I was researching all of this. Again, because my family comes from the military priesthood. Knights of the Bath. This sounds familiar. I'm trying to get that damn book. I got to find that book. I find it eventually. But it's all interesting. Let's watch it. It's real interesting though, because that's why I keep trying to tell you about the prophecies and how this shit is waking up, and Black Americans are supposed to go to back to let's see, origin of Prince. I'm sorry, I'm just researching, like spree reading and trying to talk at the same time. But this system and the things that's supposed to be going on, the changes that we're supposed to see, a lot of that's supposed to be going to the Black American. However, it is not going to go for anybody that's aligned with this current satanic system. That is not what's going to be honored as far as the switch in the guard that I was talking about. Okay, Westminster Abbey. Whew.
Pay attention to this.
I got a story to tell y'all about that. Again, y'all won't believe this stuff.
I'm show y'all my ID in a minute. Wait, watch this though.
If I was to show you everything, like I showed my parents, and maybe they was playing dumb or whatever. But like, I remember showing people in my family the information that I have not even told y'all regarding this Westminster Abbey and the connections with our names in these books and even the grid line, the Masonic grid lines in America. It blow your mind. It really will.
You're gonna see it today too.
We getting closer to it though, because the book was in the Westminster Abbey, the Palace of Westminster, the book that I'm talking about. So maybe if we go here. And so what they did was they did like a binding ritual on the rightful heirs who are descendants of Sephardic Moorish royalty, Black royalty, that came over here in America, that set up shop here. They did a binding ritual over our bloodlines while we were enslaved and while we were and while they were burying the Black nobility that did sell us out. They were very strategic in the sacrifices that they had to make to keep their power behind the scenes and even place white supremacy, create the soul system, white supremacy. Y'all could get upset and say, no, Black people ain't had nothing to do with that. Y'all out of y'all damn mind. Y'all think that this stuff is the occult, man. Wake up. Damn, I gotta get that book. Maybe when I find that book, I'll do a whole ass video on it talking about this stuff. Because I know I could find it. That I know.
I find it.
Matter of fact, it gotta be a simpler way to research this.
I had to just pull up my genealogy.
Okay. Westminster Abbey. Let's do House of God. Because I know the name translates to House of God. I know it. I know they didn't mess that. I mean, it's like I know House of God book. Let me take that book. I wouldn't be shocked if they started taking that stuff off the air, but I don't want to fall into like a rabbit hole when I just can't simply remember the name of the damn book. But I don't remember it ever being this hard to find it either. Westminster Abbey. Let me just type in King of Arms book. Okay. Fuck it. I'm just gonna pull up my records and have to go through because that is just not making any sense. And then that way, once I get the name, I'm able to tell y'all whether or not there is. Let me just type in this royal bloodline. Okay, let's see. That way. Okay, it's Norman conquest of 1066. That's where my bloodline comes from. That is Worcestershire, Bernard. Okay, the names associated in Sir Bernard Books, General Armory, Austria Kings of Arms. Okay, let me. So they did I guess I could share this. So they did like a binding ritual on Black American.
This is my genealogy.
In America, they switched it around because they know exactly who we are.
That was the original website. A
lot of us,
all these websites are gone.
I'm not taking that away from us, but I'm just saying, those of us of a royal bloodline, this is exactly how they did it.
All of those websites are gone.
Damn, I gotta get that book. I know it gotta be here. Mullen. See, this was the store I was telling you about. You go to the fourcrest.com right now, you don't get no motherfucking research.
All that's
like
gone.
this. You can look it up for yourself. You can go right here, fourcrest.com.
It's gone.
You won't get no research whatsoever.
They used to have all the coat of arms of every last name on that site. They took it all down when that happened to me.
Get it? They changed their whole website after I came out publicly talking about how I was able to put all the whole story.
They don't want Black Americans to know that. That's was one of the missing pieces for a lot of us, at least for the rightful heirs from that specific tribe. I can't say it's all of us, and I'm not trying to.
Together. Saint Bernard. Trying to look for that name of that book. Participated the
Jordans is
participated in the third crusade in the
is my
Holy
coat of
Lands.
arms. Jordan.
This is also
from one of my dad's side. One of the blood surname.
Okay, here we go. Found it. The Domesday Book of 1086. Knew it. The Norman Conquest of 10. This is the book that
That's the book that they're hiding. This is all the stuff that you can't get your ass.
Now let's look at the
Watch me show y'all this ID.
The research on it. Okay. Damn, it was that simple. But okay, here we go.
This is the book.
So let's see. Okay, so it looks like the research is still the same. I was typing that in. I felt like maybe I was spelling it with two O's. I think that's what it was. Okay, so this is the book that the Black Americans are in. Okay, so let's read a little bit about it. This manuscript was originally known by the Latin name Liber de Wintonia, meaning Book of Winchester. It was kept in a royal treasury. Nice for a piece of land and property. I wanted to talk about manuscripts. Talk about where it was housed at, because Wikipedia, they don't give you all of the information anymore. So this book is called "That's the Day of Judgment," Domesday, the Day of Judgment. And so this is very, very powerful if you think about it. Domesday means house of God, the Day of Judgment.
So you hear that?
And they like, but let me show you.
Now, when I was going all off in August 2022, I literally released a book called Judgment before a video said Judgment before I even know all this stuff. House of God, Judgment. The names are in that book. Those are Masonic bloodlines, royal bloodlines. This shit about to get real. Now watch this, because I'm about to show y'all my ID. And keep in mind, it's Westminster Palace shit.
It is. So they just put everybody's name in this book and locked it up in a royal palace, right? But watch this. They don't tell you the real reason of why this was there.
They don't. It's a ritual.
I want to talk to you about, like, okay, so here we go. Domesday Book was preserved in the 11th century to the beginning of the 13th century. This is 1,000 years of history, by the way. In the royal treasury at the Winchester Norman King's capital was often referred to the book or the Roll of Winchester. When the treasury moved to the Palace of Westminster, probably under King John, the book went with it.
Westminster. Now pay attention.
I want to talk to you about, like, the locks that they had on this book.
The lock. No, but that's what we got to get to, the locks.
In order to get into it. So, okay, the Domesday chest, the German-style iron-bound chest of 1500 in which Domesday Book was kept in the 17th and 18th century. Binding. Okay,
binding.
I want to see if they have the way it was guarded, because this was like guarded like 24/7.
Yep, it was guarded 24/7 by guardsmen. So this is how you know it was a spiritual thing.
I don't know if they talk about it on this Wikipedia. This was the binding ritual that they did too, by the way. Again, y'all can't see the play because y'all just gonna look at it from a 3D round. Now, this was some other shit. This book mean House of God. This book mean Day of Judgment. And then I'm on the internet 2 years ago when I discovered this stuff, talking about is Judgment Day and all this stuff because of quantum entanglement session with God. Oh, please. And my first and last name, all the names of my ancestors is in this damn book. I gotta show y'all how it was guarded.
Yeah, watch
1086. This is a Roman conquest. This is, believe it or not, they don't tell you everything, but this was. I don't even know if I should be getting into all of this. This has ties to Masonry, to the Masons. Y'all already know that. Y'all should already know that.
And the Crusaders and
the oldest government
Templars.
archives, fixed questions. I'm trying to show y'all the locks on it. Increases control over the land. King of Norway, or was William, Duke of Normandy. Every Black American's name go back to the conquest of 1066, by the way. Damn, I'm trying to talk about the locks. They had locks. Scared or dared to even think about causing trouble. Shortage of money. I eventually find it. Trying to, you know, we got to get to the breaking down that Jaguar right shit too with the Orlando Brown interview. It's not in that one either. It used to come up real quickly. Took me a while to find it, but I eventually find it. I thought I had links saved. I need to have them links saved. I hope I got them saved still. See, look at this. Reference to the Day of Judgment. That records in the Doomsday were final and cannot be disputed. See, records are final, cannot be disputed. Agreed upon by scholars. And I don't tell you the real reason why this is a binding ritual. This was some shit that they had. And there's so many Black Americans' names that's in this damn book. This is how they reversed the identity. This is how they switched the identities of more Sephardic bloodline. Mix this up with Africans over here, with Indians over here, and just say, oh, y'all from Africa. Y'all niggas from Africa. Y'all ain't getting back on that motherfucking throne. Y'all niggas ain't getting back on that throne. And they've been taking us out one by one, like hunting us like fucking rabbits. There's even a second round of inspection. Such measures for justice merely. I'm trying to get. I want you to see how guarded this book was. For them to be talking about, it was just for some of the shit they trying to talk about. Nah, this was in a palace. This was in the Westminster Abbey Palace. And here's pages of just names. It's a feudal system. Damn, I gotta find a way they had that book. Guarded. Gotta find it. Because that's when you be like, nah, there's some other shit going on. Because it's public now, but I'm just saying, like, when it was going, this is almost 1,000 years old. So it's so annoying. Let me just type in guarded. Maybe I'll put treasure chest because it wasn't a treasure chest. Okay. Yeah, that was it. I think this is it. Right okay, so look at this. Look at the skin that it was prepared on. Sheep, calf, and deer. 800 pages. It was called by King William the Conqueror at Christmas of 1085. How defense was organized. Come on, this is a ritual. It's a detailed survey of Anglo-Saxon. Okay, here we go. Right here. Here too. Trying to get the chest. Okay. Okay, let's see. Doomsday Book has been considered one of the country's greatest treasures. It was originally kept in the Royal Treasury at Winchester, but then was moved to Westminster Abbey. Royal administrators often referred to Doomsday when they needed to establish rights and privileges. From around 1600, Doomsday was kept in its large wooden chest, clad iron and reinforced with iron stripes. It had 3 different locks for security, and 3 different officials held the key. It can only be opened with their consent.
You see
3. Okay, just so you know, 3 different locks for 3 different officials held the key, clad in iron and reinforced with iron stripes. This book with your motherfucking names in it, Black American names in it.
That
My
says
name,
House of God.
House of God, Day of Judgment. Come on, made of sheep. And look at a black person right there. Wake your motherfucking ass up. Look at this. This is the Doomsday Book with a black Moor right there. Right there. They don't hide this shit. They put it right in front of your face. I gotta take screenshots of this shit, man. I actually gotta save this. Because this is what I was trying to wake up 2 years ago. And I was trying to say, like, this is what they are. This is what they used to do a binding ritual on Black American lineage. To switch the identities. The white people that are in power to hide the Black nobility. They completely sacrificed the Black nobility. Part of the Black nobility was sacrificed in America. This is why you see a lot of the situation with us being plummeted into Section 8 and the projects and stuff. But then they hide behind the scenes and they run this system with white folks. And it is a system based on bloodline. They don't give a shit about race up at the top. And I know that for a fact. That's why they don't. That's why they be trying to knock my ass off, because I know too much. They don't give a damn about race for a fact, black or white up at that level. That's why your Black Congressional Caucus don't give a shit about you. That's why it's deeper. It's 2 sides of a secret society that's warring with each other on a bloodline. And one has been totally lost, totally out of the loop. And they've been
that's the real situation that's going on with this P. Diddy stuff. It relates to this. It has nothing. They trying to frame it on race on the 3D level, but it's spiritual. It's deeper than what you see.
You off like rabbits, because you don't know who you are. And then the ones that do know who they are, you took a deal, you took a contract, you took an oath, like Kanye West just said in that interview with Ty Dolla $ign and the other guy, I forgot his name. He said, yeah, we kings, but once you sign that contract, you sold out your whole kingdom, you sold out your bloodline. He ain't lying about that. He know exactly what the fuck he talking about. That's what I was trying to wake up in 2022 and again in 2023, because I saw it in the spiritual realm as a prophet. This is what I saw. Like I saw this book. My ancestors, I'm gonna tell you this real quick. My ancestors, black and white ancestors, a white grandmother, I told you about my sixth great grandmother on both sides of my biological family is white. And black patriarchs, Moors, came to me in St. Bernard himself in dreams and gave me this information. How would I know? How would I know to go and look up and research this shit? They said Doomsday. They told me to look this stuff up, and I looked it up. That's why you think I was able to find all this stuff. They came to me in dreams and gave me this information. They was like, there's curses on these bloodlines. They done switched identity. They were showing me all this shit. They were showing me all this stuff. Here it go right here. I already showed y'all. This stuff was part of. And then remember I told you we've been looking at it earlier. Sir Bernard Burke's General Armory, Ulster King's Arms in 1884.
Sir Bernard. That's also one
of
my surnames, just so y'all know.
This is forcrest.com. They don't have this. If you go right now and research this, you will not see it.
You won't see
They always have a goat to represent these names. These are Masonic bloodlines. They took this site down once I came public about this site. Forcrest.com. The site is still up, but you ain't getting none of this motherfucking information. You see all this stuff I was telling you, all this information like that? Doomsday Book of 1086. You ain't getting that motherfucking information, because that's how you break a contract or an oath that a family took. And this is my adopted family. Look, that same goat type ram, these horned figures. Except for the Jordans are Hebrews. Bernard is the bear. St. Bernard came and smacked my ass up, gave me this information. Like, wake your motherfucking ass up. Look at this. Lunar energy. Look at this. Another horned animal. So this shit is dead ass serious. Like, y'all gotta stop playing around. And yeah, I'm sharing it. I don't give a damn, because I had tried to wake this up and people was swearing up and down I had just lost my mind, but it's all gonna come out to play. It's all coming out. I'm telling you, Saint Bernard came in the dream and gave me this information and told me to look all this stuff up. And that's how I was able now pay attention to that, right? Westminster. Look at this. Pay attention to that. Y'all saw that for yourself. You saw that book was in Westminster. Now, I just told y'all my surnames was in that book. We about to look at something right quick. Now, mind you, this is my ID. It's an old ID, obviously. What does that say? My name, and what it says Westminster Drive, right? Westminster. Just pay attention to that, because we about to take a deeper dive, because this is still nothing. You just need to know that say Westminster. You see my date of birth, 1/22/1992. You know, I already know my real name. Now let's look at this. I'm going to Google Maps, and we going to that area, Westminster. Now, obviously, we're still on Westminster, but we're not at the address that you see on my ID, but we know what Westminster Drive is. This is Westminster Drive, everybody. You see it. Let me make sure that it's sharing. Oh, is it not sharing? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay. Is it sharing now? Let me just make sure. Just want to make sure that it's sharing, because I got to show y'all this real quick. Let me see if it was showing the ID. Was it showing the ID? Yeah, I know that book said Westminster Palace. Let's just show it again, just in case it didn't, because I can't rewind to be able to see. So let's just do it again. Share this one. Okay. So you see the ID. Let's just show it again, just in case it didn't. You see the address. And you know what we just talked about with that book. Now, you can go look these names up for yourself. You see it? Now watch this. You know what Westminster Drive is at. Okay. This is the street that I was on, Westminster Drive. My dad's name is James. Where do you see? St. James right there. You see King David. You see Solomon's Drive. You see Saul's Drive, and you see Trinity. It says St. Mary's. That's my mom's name. That's my biological mom's name is Mary. My biological's dad name is James. I know both of these names are in that book, by the way. You see King David, you see Solomon, you see Westminster Drive. But look at this, it gets even creepier. You see Rich, we said Westminster Drive. Mind you, my last name, my middle name used to be Ann, by the way. You see it, Ann. But look at this, Abbey Court, Westminster Abbey Palace. Ann used to be my middle name. You see George Washington, Ann. You see James, that's my dad's name. King David, Solomon Drive, Trinity, and Mary. That's my mom's name. Saul. Mind you, like this, I did not purposely move on this damn address. How would I purposely know to go here? Westminster Palace. And y'all just saw that book I just showed y'all. My first and last names of all of my family's bloodline is in that fucking book on Westminster Palace. when it was also Westminster Alley. How did I end up with this on my motherfucking ID? Wait a minute. Is it not sharing? Hold on. Here we go. Let's look at it again. There we go. Let me make sure that it's sharing. Because that, I'm telling you, they gonna try to, they messing up my stream on purpose because they don't want this shit out. Look at this. St. James right there. Here's Westminster Drive. Let's go deeper. Let's do it again. Abbey. Westminster Drive, Abbey. This is where I stayed on Westminster Drive, right by Abbey, by the way. I walk. There's St. James. That's my dad's name. This is King David. Here's Solomon Drive. Here's Trinity. And then here's St. Mary's. That's my mom's name, Mary. There's a Harvest Tabernacle. Matter of fact, there's a Masonic temple right above one of these areas, actually. One of them. George Washington, Westminster Drive. Look, it's right on Google Maps right now. This is, you see it right there. You can look that up for yourself. It's connected to St. James, King David, Saul, Trinity, and St. Mary's. That's my mom's name on Westminster Drive in Abbey Palace. Mind you, all of these names is in that book. It is called House of God, Book of Judgment. In that Westminster, that's housed where? In the Westminster Abbey Palace. And this is where I was staying at, Westminster Drive in Abbey. You see that right on your screen. You see where it says James and you see where it says Mary. King David, Solomon Drive, St. James, Saul, Trinity. Where's that Mason temple at? That's very close by too. So, but yeah, it's right in front of you. And so when I saw that stuff where it said Monarch and all that stuff, well, how do you think I felt in my head? And now you see my ID says Westminster Drive. You see it in front of your screen. And this is where I was at. I mean, do you think that, doesn't that look like epigenetics? How would I end up on Westminster? That book that I just showed y'all about, and what they call House of Dom, that Dominus Day book, House of God, Judgment, that was housed with all them ironclad straps with 3 different keys and 3 different guards at all times. It's housed in Westminster Palace with my names in them books, all my ancestors' names in them books. And this where my ass ended up at Westminster Drive in Abbey, St. James. Now you wonder why I was talking about breaking MK Ultra and all this shit. Don't that sound like a damn ritual binding spell? Y'all thought I'm telling you, it's right there in front of you. It's right there in front of you. You see, I mean, anybody can go and Google it and redo these steps and see what I'm talking about. That's mighty, mighty motherfucking coincidental. I'm saying James, Mary, King David, Solomon Drive, Westminster, and then didn't do the birth date. Then look at the names of my genealogy. It's really fucking creepy. If you look at the names of my genealogy, my bloodline comes from my dad's side is Jordans. That's literally the last name, the Jordans. It's right there. This is and we're by Analytics. Analytics, and my middle name is Ann. By Westminster Palace, Anvil Road, George Washington Drive. George Washington was a Moor. So how do you think I felt looking at this? Obviously, I was like, when I saw this with my own eyes, because mind you, my ancestors directed me to all this. They woke this up to me because they said, wake your motherfucking ass up. How do you think I felt? My mind was blown. Because I started getting crazy ass phone calls too from motherfuckers. You know what I mean? Because it was like they knew I had woke up. People felt it and they went on overtown on my ass. That's when I found out that they had put me in this program and shit or whatever was going on. I just knew something was off. Hezekiah Way. You see it right there. Hezekiah, Solomon's Drive, Trinity, King David, St. James. That's my dad's name. Mary is my mom's name. Spirit of Truth Ministries. And so it's right there in front of you. And then I'm trying to figure out that Mason Lodge is somewhere around this bitch. I know it is because I saw it. When I saw when I was looking it up. It's real close by. It's real close by. That's what I'm trying to look for. I know it's like on Solomon Drive or some shit. So you're not about to sit up there, and try to play. This is on my ID, and I just showed y'all that book, Domus Days. In the Westminster Palace. That book was guarded. This book was guarded in the Westminster Palace. It's right there. Let me show you right here. It's right there. Domus Day. Look this up. Your names is y'all just saw that black ass Moore just sitting right there. And I'm telling you, my ancestors came to me in dreams and gave me all this shit first. They came and said, look this shit up. Like, wake your ass up. That's you know what I mean? And so when we talk about like breaking programs, like MK Ultra is also a spell. Because you got to figure you got 3 generations that shit can pass on through. I've heard stories. I've heard stories from family members. I know for a fact that they went through satanic ritual abuse. Textbook, the stuff that they explained to me sounds so crazy. Thank God I ain't never go through nothing like that. But I'm like, oh shit. And the things that they went through and how they were sacrificed. I know I've had to research what satanic ritual abuse looked like. Then I'm looking and I'm like, these are all the stories that my family that I grew up hearing from my biological family telling me shit that happened to them. They went through satanic ritual abuse, sex magic, the sexual abuse as kids, all that stuff. That's all systematic. It's deep. And I remember they said you gotta break the spell. My ancestors were saying you gotta break the spell. Okay, so now we go and look at Jaguar, right? And Brown is a victim of MK Ultra. He's also of royal bloodline. He is also very special. When he was playing as a kid, he was born into it, sold into it. If you're born into it, like I said, you get a pass because you didn't willingly go into it, the industry. As far as like the satanic ritual abuse, and there are people that voluntarily go into that lifestyle for money, and he wasn't one of those people. He didn't do that. But there are people that do. They sell their kids into it for fame and fortune, and sometimes it's to get them out of a contract. Sometimes they have to offer up somebody to get out. And so a lot of times, like the kids, the famous kids, they are already monarchs because their bloodline has been traced, and that's how they get picked, anyways. Like even to go to certain schools, like I went to Columbia University. Columbia University is heavily involved with Monarch program and MK Ultra. Everybody knows that. Like there was just somebody that was just doing massive research on this program. He's a researcher. He's a hell of a good researcher too. And he was showing how Columbia University was involved in a lot of the MK Ultra stuff, Monarch programming and stuff. That school it's called originally King's College. It was for the royal bloodlines. I went to Columbia University. And so that's what they do. They keep track of all their royal bloodlines, even if they want to mind control them and run them as a slave, or a beta kid slave, whatever. Some of them are just pure sacrifices or bloodliners, or that's where they start to like traffic the humans and traffic certain people. Like even when I was in foster care, I told you I thought foster care was the best thing the United States had. I didn't have that experience that other foster care kids had. And that's why I never talked about it, because it made me I didn't want to come off like bragging or something, because I didn't want to hurt nobody's feelings, because I thought that was everybody's experience as a kid. I already talked about that on my channel, so I'm not going to go through that. But they know who's a bloodliner, who's not, what's going. They do put people in programs based on their IQ. They put people in programs based on what they feel you're going to contribute, or on your bloodline, on your gematria, your natal chart. They look at all of that if you become a ward of the state. And see Orlando's Brown case, his family probably, they had a contract or whatever they wanted to do, where they know that they was going to offer him up. And they passed him around in that industry, fragmented his mind through what? The MK Ultra ritual, which is for kids. They were using that on kids illegally and using sex magic on them to open up the pineal gland, to insert altars, to traumatize the mind. And he was passed around. He has told us about these stories. And see what Orlando Brown is, he talks very coded, and he has to. And it is hard to understand him. And he wants that by design, because he knows how to speak to entities that are way above humans' pay grade. And boy, did he do that yesterday. And like I said, I don't get spooked easily when it comes to shit like that. Just watching some interview. And I ain't gonna hold you. When I first was listening to this shit, I said, oh, here they go, the crazy motherfuckers. But I have to say, after the 36 moment, a principality came through on both of them. And he was talking at like a 45D level. I don't expect barely any human to understand him. I barely could get it. I had to look through almost every single last comment to put because there's people that understand him. There's people that could break this shit down better than I can. And they knew exactly what he meant. What confirmed it is because I felt it in my soul, and I had to look to see if anybody else caught it. And literally, about only 3 people caught it. Mind you, look at this. It's 12,000 comments. I went through 8,000 comments. That's how my mind scans very quickly. By the way, it's like a transducer supercomputer. I went through 8,000 comments yesterday. Only 3 people picked up on what I felt yesterday and broke it down in such an eloquent way. Big ass paragraphs. Thank God for them. 3 of them. And that's how I knew. I said, okay. He was speaking to the angelic realm. He needed to get something out to a certain dimension about what was going on. And he pretty much was telling us not to fully trust Jaguar, right? I'm not saying I agree with him or I don't agree with him. I'm just letting you know he needed to he's dressed in black and red. He's letting you know what time it is. He's dressed in black and red. At a certain point in this interview, he gives them shades. That's a ritual. Shades are reflectors. They protect you from anybody open up a portal. Only 3 people was able to break this down and translate what I saw in my mind and translate it into words. And it was so powerful. And it spooked me, because I actually could see whatever he said or whatever he opened up in him as far as the portal. It allowed us that are from his team, because everybody got a spiritual team, to see the spirits that was on both of them. And I was able to see what's on her and see what's on him. He doesn't fully trust her. She probably doesn't fully trust him after this interview. They may not even be cool after this interview. Hopefully they are. But he doesn't fully trust her from the spiritual side of things, because she was in that industry. And I'm going to break down how you say that and how he's breaking it down in code and sending out warning shot after warning shot to those who could catch it, who he needs to catch it, because she's coming on our side. She told her that she took the oath to Baphomet. She put the tattoo on herself, thinking that would get her protection, that she was protected by the devil. She told you she was a devil worshiper. She's a high priestess. She understands non-human languages. She's initiated into certain mystery sciences that are well above the average human's pay grade. She was an Illuminati priestess, and she is very much protected. This is not a regular person. That's why she got there bumping her gums, whether you believe her or not, whether you like her or not. Is not the point. She go out there bumping them gums, about what she knows in that industry, because she was a part of that industry. And that's what Orlando was saying. And when he says, hey, it's different for me when I was in major pains, he's talking about, I was a kid. I didn't enter this shit in knowingly. And that's why he said He's he threw out so much dog whistles that flew over everybody's head, and only 3 people caught it out of 8,000 comments. Those are the 3 people that are highly connected to the angelic realm, and they even mentioned it, and they said these are warring spirits. They spirit started warring halfway through. Y'all couldn't see it. I caught it, and it. I never felt that watching something. I hope I don't feel it now because I'm telling you, it made my heart sink. My heart started to sink, and I started to like kind of like have a panic because I felt he was the warnings that he was trying to give us. Like it is like banging, like his soul is like banging, like y'all gotta wait, like it's like he was screaming to his dimension, like I don't fully trust this situation because and he's speaking so much high level code. He brought up the Jackson Fives, all that's he bring up the Jackson Fives because they were part of as they had dealt with SRA. They were kids in that industry too. But even that was a hard level code that flew over my head, and somebody had to break that down. I mean, it's like he has to, and I'm not even going to break down everything for you. And in certain ways that you'll probably hear me communicate tonight, it's got to be at a 45D level. It has to be over your head because then I got to communicate to certain people that I know is watching me and watching over my soul and watching us. And it's like, you know, let's just review. And if I could break it down in a simple way, I will. But I know for a fact that this was not meant for every human to understand, and that he purposely needs you to think that he's crazy. And at certain points, I'm going to leave it that way to protect him because there's recognizance missions. There's serious stuff going on in this planet, and I can't play around with I kind of know. Like I'm telling you, I was never this spooked before. Knowing what I was looking at principalities and knowing the altar, you guys call them altars, but knowing the spirits that was coming through and what they was trying to communicate to certain dimensions. He's dressed in red and black. They gonna do symbols. They gonna say certain things. They gonna speak in code, and we gonna go through all of it. Okay, so let's start. That's the secret. See how she looking at him? She's starting to realize what he's doing. She was all good up into there, but you just look at the way she started looking at him and the energy that roars with her. She admitted that she took the oath to the Baphomet, but that she had a tattoo of it, and then that she took it off though. She well not took it off, she covered it with something else. But like she said, that stuff sinks into your soul. She was a part of that industry. She knew everything that was going on. She was down with it. And she just didn't. She just felt robbed because in exchange for whatever she traded, it didn't take her. It didn't match alignment with the gift that God gave her in terms of the credit and even the acknowledgement for her gift. But she was in that, and so he's going to throw certain dog whistles out there where he says it's different with me. I was in major pain. He's like, I was a kid that got forced into this, and you willingly went into this as an adult. And so he kind of feels some type of, he doesn't feel like he could fully trust her from that. And he knows how high up she's in there as an Illuminati priestess, high priestess. He knows how high up she is in that. Now, it doesn't matter about the fame or the money as you guys would think. It's about the kinetic energy. He knows he's dealing with a Nagai serpentine priestess. You could see it in the hands and in the face, and you could see it in the energy. They start to war with one another spiritually. It may not be that deep. Again, it could be just, I think it's just subtle, like a little bit of tension on both sides. And I do think that she might not even fully trust him after this. So let's continue to look. Every and she not lying. And it ain't got nothing to do with which how y'all think it is. It's not because she can run her mouth all this time. She's connected. That's why they say the mafia is protecting her. It's higher up. That's way higher than the mafia that's protecting her. This is all orchestrated, and that's what Orlando was trying to tip off. Like he think she might be controlled opposition. I'm not saying she is at all. I'm not saying she is at all. And I do think she's trying to change it. Like she said, she walked away from that shit, wanting to expose it and get up. She's upset at certain people. She walked away from the Baphomet. She's trying to go to the other side. He doesn't fully trust it though. And he's letting certain angelic realm, certain dimensions of the angelic realm know that he doesn't fully trust it. He doesn't. That's I mean, that's clearly, and he just put everybody on notice. That's that needed to know that. Not the public, because I know the average human is not going to understand what he's saying, and my ain't nobody going to really watch my channel to see what I'm talking about. So that's not for everybody. Like I said, out of 8,000 comments, only 3 people knew what we meant, and we felt that in our soul. Because Orlando Brown is a baby in the spirit's eyes in terms of his innocence of his soul, believe it or not. Like I know y'all say, oh, he was in the industry, he drank and he doing this. He was a kid that was groomed into that. He was thrown into that. He was sold into that. He was sold into that. When you're a kid and child star, they are passing you around like that around the industry. Your parents have sold you out, or the bloodline, whoever you sold you out. And so he has a high level of protection of that same light that was on him, even though they have scarred him, even though he's traumatized, even though he's been brutalized in that industry and harmed. He's still connected to high to the light. He's connected to the heavenly realms. He didn't willingly set no path. I mean, in fact, he walked away. In fact, he's not involved. He's throw out a hell of codes of what he's against and like to play crazy. Now let's continue. That's what she say. Everybody, she was doing and the thing is, people will could look down on that as far as like somebody using. They always get very powerful black women and very powerful melanated people, those powers that be, to do the ritual because they have the light codes to understand the mystery sciences and to activate them. Some of that stuff is still dormant. She understands those languages. She's initiated in certain things. Don't let her fool you. And we about to show you. I do think she wants cruelty artistry, cruelty free artistry. But I also think she's upset at the industry because she didn't get her fair shake because the Baphomet consumes their own kids. And so, she's, I do think she got a chip on her shoulder, rightfully so. She's a talented woman. I hadn't heard from her my whole life until I saw her talking about the celebrity stuff. No, let's be real. I didn't hear her sing my whole life. Like, who would have known she was that deep but they do have their people that work that deep in the industry as priestesses, as principalities, as people that do that know what the inside works. And then also she was a sex worker, a dominatrix. And we about to show you how she about to communicate in her stuff too, because she tells him, I understand languages too. She pulled that amulet that's around her throat up. You about to see, watch. They put on the shades, he give her the shades. See, this is where he start to be. I'm not trying to, and this is. Let's just carry on because he's dressed in red and black. Look at the bracelet that's on. This is not red and black is a very important color for certain bloodlines. Okay, there is our information has been stolen, and people think red and black is associated with whatever, but red and black is not associated. It is not associated with the way we see it. But it's very important colors. Look how Orlando Brown look at his face. Look at his face, and then look now. This is where he start throwing codes out. She wrote The Matrix. This this is deep. This is why she looking at him like you talking too much. He's letting her know she's the programmer. She's part of the programmer. She's wrote the pro. She was part of that system, and then she's the Terminator. Then he said she's the Matrix and the Terminator. She ended it. She's the programmer. She's a singer, which means she's telling on the industry. He says she's a singer. She's an actor. She wrote the Matrix, and then she wrote the Terminator. She wrote the script, and now she's terminating this just change of guard system. She's outing the industry. She was a part of the industry. She wrote the Matrix. She is a programmer. Means she has handled people. She knows how, she's a handler. She knows code. She knows how to program other people. And now she wrote the Matrix. She knows she knows the programming. She also it's not even so much her herself as Jaguar. It's the spirit that's on her. It's a homunculus deity that's still on her. And she may be trying to cleanse and do whatever she got to do. She probably got to completely get rid of that tattoo. And she said it was the Baphomet that she sewed on her, but then she covered it up. She might have to do some tattoo removal because when they took off their shades, I was able to see the spirits that's on these people. Now, Jaguar does have Nagas serpentine blood that's very powerful. But I do know that there's a homunculus deity that's on her that's from that industry. She can get rid of it. I'm not judging. I ain't saying good, bad, right, wrong, but I know that Orlando saw it too. And even it comes through. You can see that just pay attention right here. He's saying she wrote the Matrix. It makes sense when we talk about the programmer. Black woman wrote the Matrix, but she knows the programming of that Matrix system, the simulation that we live in with this satanic death system. She she was involved in it. 666 sign. Look at this. Look at the sign. Pay attention. If you there else stuff is gonna go over your head. Now he recognizes the spirit that came through her. That is the homunculus deity spirit that is on her. It's a Babylonian. It's an ancient Babylonian. It's from that industry though, because obviously that Baphomet has is a chimera of certain octaves spirits is within the Baphomet. I'm not going to get into the exact entity the name of the entity. I know the name of it, and I saw it on her, and that's why he's throwing up these symbols. Now watch this. You do music. You're a singer. Now you music. Who do music? Lucifer. Then you wrote the Matrix, the primordial. It's going deep. He's seeing something on her. It's like it's a spirit that he knows, and it is now it's a mixture because she does have a primordial energy on her too, from her natural bloodline that she was born with, and then there's also the homunculus deity one that comes from the industry from the Baphomet, and her initiations into different priesthoods and knowledge of certain sciences. And he said, "You a singer." You do music, you a singer, which is you're a teller, you're telling on the industry, but you wrote the Matrix, but you know you designed this simulation of this program and then knowing what was going to happen, and then you're going to say you terminated it. See, you're doing music. See, it's adorable that you're doing music with people, but you wrote the fucking movie. So you telling on people. You was in the movie. You was a part of the program. You were the programmer. You wrote the fucking program. Now he's talking to more of the spirit that's on her, but that she was a high level Illuminati high priestess that knew all the industries, businesses that knew about the underground economies that was going on. Like she told y'all, the music industry is a front for trafficking. Everybody knew that. I mean, she telling us something we already knew. I had confirmation from that from somebody that I know was heavily involved in the industry, but an old money bloodline Black American said it too. She said, all this stuff is nothing but high end prostitution. I'll never forget she said that on the phone to me. Deep stuff. Let's keep watching. See, saying you're fucking crazy. Like you participated in all that stuff. She knew all that stuff that was going down with the kids and all that stuff. You wrote it, you sung with them, you hung with them, and now you exposing them. You wrote the Matrix. It's adorable that you. So let's rewind it just so you can catch it. Because she caught on to it. That's why she said, "Oh, I understand language too." Like, oh, I see what you're doing. You ain't playing that damn crazy. Because she's very smart. She knew what he was doing towards the end. That's why she got frustrated with it. It's adorable that you're doing music with people, but you wrote the Matrix. Like now you telling but you did the program. And see, she getting that. Like she's she getting off scot free. And she telling her about it, but she was there for all the shit. She know her. She know a lot. She probably not lying when she said she know people business because she was proud. She was more so on the occult underground aspect of things, and they have that. And people call them flunkies because they do witchcraft for the elites or whatever they use. They waste their power that way. And but people do that for money, and that's. I'm not saying she did that. I'm just saying Orlando Brown is communicating a lot more than what you guys are reading into. You see what he's saying? You wrote the Matrix and the Terminator because she telling everybody she ended the industry. She single handedly bringing down that industry. It's not single handedly. It's a lot of spiritual backing and it's a lot of other shit going on. That's not necessarily just her, but she opened up the door on a lot of shit. See how she's saying the Terminator. And I remember the person that wrote Sophia's story, Sophia, the derma urge, the female. She letting he talking in code. Sophia, you wrote the mate. Sophia Stewart. What is the last name Stewart? What a Stewart does, but what is Sophia? Wisdom and the derma urge. And for the occult though, when they talk about the Matrix and the Terminator, we're talking about destroy creator. I don't know if I want to go there. The devil as a female, Satan as a female. Um, Sophia got a bad rap in the Gnosticism. As far as we know Sophia as wisdom and the Sophia the goddess, but Sophia is a play on and there's a sect of Gnostics that don't see Sophia as a good thing. They see it as the representation of the fallen Dharma urge, the fallen system, the matrix itself. This is very hot, brilliant. You have to know the context of the Gnosis. That's why, like last time we broke down the codes, and you had to know the context of even certain Bible verses, or else you were going to be lost and just thought he was crazy. But he letting you know, like, okay, you was all in with these motherfuckers. Like, you a programmer. You're an Illuminati priestess. You know this industry. You design. You know how to program people. She does. And we're gonna prove that right at the end of this video. She shows it right in front of y'all and laughs about it. You know.
But let's keep looking. He was letting people know, like, I don't, she might be controlled opposition. I don't know if we should fully trust her. I don't know what this is all about. Like, he doesn't fully think that she's on our side. That she left the Baphomet or whatever. He doesn't fully think that she's on God's side. That's what he thinks. I'm not saying I think that, but I'm telling you that's what he let people know. And see how she looking at him? Because he's computer. He knows his altar is out. He knows she knows that his spirit can recognize who the real spirit is on her. Look at the symbol that she does. Look at this symbol, another 666 symbol. Ashley Mary Kate. It's all cold. Look at the symbol that she does. She gotta put his altar back in check. Watch this. Look how she looking at. Now he playing, but she caught on to him. I'm gonna fast forward just a little bit. Okay, watch. And you see the symbol, the symbol that she did. See, he knows it's a movie. It's the stage, and he knows that is there's there's exploitation that's still happening, even of maybe even his own narrative in his own situation, but also he's wondering if this is truly like this whole thing is controlled up. Is it's like he's like she can't answer that. It's a movie. It's like you see that in many lives. That's a spirit in many lives. That's why when he say you Jay-Z, this, you that, but you was the Jackson Fives and but you Reeby, like all that was powerful code too that flew over my head. Somebody had to break that down, but she letting people know, like it's an entity speaking through her, and I've been that in many lives. She letting you know who she is, who's speaking through her. That tattoo on her back. This is serious stuff, and he knows it. If she about to put him in check, watch. Yeah, she don't fully trust him at this point. He don't fully trust her.
Fast forward a little bit. Okay, so like the easiest parts, and this was coming from another commenter, was when he mentions Jermaine and Jay Z and Jalil White and Diddy. And so in that circle, they're pretty much saying they were moving the same way. Like everyone in Hollywood is one of the same from that network. This is a spirit jumping network. And so when he said we are the Jacksons, that was a code switch. And so he's saying him and Jag are the Jacksons, and Jag is Janet Jackson. And saying you don't mess with Janet, and anywhere everyone is scared of Janet. And so he said that you don't mess with her. Um, Again, this is hard to it's hard to because it's like other people had to break this down for me, and I don't want to give out too much myself, but because I know what he was trying to say, and I ain't trying to ruin no relationship, whatever they have or whatever friendship they, I'm not trying to. Uh, but it was a little tense and awkward, especially towards the end when we talk about the ashes, and that's where I'm trying to get to that part. He's still doing the symbols. But check this out. He do the, it's okay. I'm going to fast forward this a bit. Okay, now we go into the story of the ashes. Pay attention to this part because that's another spirit jumped in and she had to check the spirit that's on him, and she had to do that through her programming. That's how you could tell she's a priestess. And he's saying he wrote the Matrix. He was with these motherfuckers. He was down with that Baphomet shit, and he don't fully think that she that she's exposing it for the right reasons. And that's what he was trying to get out throughout the whole interview to his dimension, through his spiritual team, to those who understand him. And she knows how the spirit world works. She knows that that he has fragmented personalities as far as from the MK Ultra that he abused, as far as to be an open vessel through it from the sex magic ritual, and that entities can just come in. And that's why when he was saying that that's why she kept asking the spirit in him where was the bullet hole, because she wanted to make sure that it was really him. So she knows how to deal with this stuff. That's why when she whispered in his ear and snapped his ass right, triggered his ass right on out of that. Watch it for yourself. Watch this. She was doing a ritual with her son's ashes. I'm not getting into all of that. I'm just saying that was clearly a ritual. He's asking about it. One of the altars are asking about it. Now watch this part. Yep, she's a priestess. She can't explain it. Because they locked her up after that. And I had a conversation the day before with a priest that had said that they was about to get her ass, that was going to go after her, and they were going to lock her up. And he was pissed, and I didn't understand because I'm thinking I like her, I'm like, well, she said that's so wrong. I thought let's and he's a part of that industry. He's a priest that's a tie clicked in very heavily with that industry. And he has said by the time we done with her, she ain't gonna remember her own name. So we about to get her good. And the next day that shit happened. Yeah, they had already had planned that. And so she knew, I guess she was going into spiritual warfare. So she did that stuff with her, with the ashes was a ritual. And see, they don't understand how that shit play out. And they don't mind, they'll get police involved. Like this is the Illuminati, this is the industry. They'll have a motherfucker come and arrest your ass and have your pay your family member 2 G's, 3 G's to say you crazy to get you locked up and drug your ass and get you to shut the fuck up. It just didn't work because she was already doing her rituals and her magic and the people that's working with her to expose the industry as well. And it is higher up Illuminati members, mafia, white intelligence, all that that's helping to expose that part. And they have put her out as one of the representatives. Um, but so she had to fight back. That's like when they had locked her up about that U-Haul truck. It was spiritual warfare when they had locked her up and she had got out like that. Like this is deep. And you'll see right here. Watch this. And she telling him, "You don't want me to do that," because that was a ritual that she had to do to make sure that she would get out and once unscathed. Because they weren't gonna let her. I'm telling you, if they could have kept her and fucked her up in there, it would have went down. But she had to do whatever she had to do to make sure that she could get out. And that was her way. People have different beliefs. You can judge it as good, bad, right, or wrong. That was what she had. But let's keep watching because this is important. That's what she said. That wasn't no waste. That was a ritual. And that's why she's looking at him like, "Are you serious?" Look at her face. Look at her face. Like she looking at him. Do you know who you fucking with? This is a serpentine Nagas. This is not. This is this. I'm surprised she. And if she could have shapeshifted on his motherfucking ass, she would have slapped the fuck out of him. But watch this. Look how she said, "Are you sure?" And you look at her grab the amulet on her neck. Watch this. Watch this. You see the symbol she did in certain languages. Watch this. Certain languages. Should she know what he was doing? She don't. He let she. Okay, you don't trust me. You think I'm a part of the industry. You think I'm trying to just doing this for the wrong reasons. Like she picked up on it and she said, okay, there's certain languages that I speak too. You don't want me to speak that. See, look what she's saying. And I can say certain things. If she whispered to her, she about to control his ass. Watch this. And she knows she's speaking to his spirit. And when he said, I'm dead," and that's why she said, "Where's the bullet holes at?" Because she need to know she's talking to the right spirit. See that she want to make sure that she talking to his spirit. And that she not being set up. She started realizing, okay, was you paid to kind of put me like to because he's sending out dog whistles that he don't really she the Matrix, she wrote it, she the Terminator, she worked with these motherfuckers. Now you want to expose these motherfuckers. And when he said in the earlier interview, which we didn't cover, when he said, "I was a kid, I was in major pain," he said it's different with you. Like he letting people know, like I didn't have no choice to get into this. You walked into this shit and took the Baphomet. Like that's what he's saying because he said he ain't never take no, and he letting them know like I don't know if you truly on God's side, and and she picked up on it and she's getting upset. And she's saying, I can speak languages too. You don't want me to speak that, because she know that he got alters and MK Ultra. She know how to program his motherfucking ass. That's why he said the programming, you wrote the Matrix and you the Terminator. She's talking to the spirit, and she's like, well, show me where the bullet holes is, because I want to make sure that she wants to make sure that that's really him. The spirit speaking through Orlando. See, she asking the spirit, where was he shot? See, look, I got somebody that wants to talk to you. And I got chills. Everybody that is three people, everybody kept saying they got chills at this part, because she not playing with him now. She about to conjure. She you see that stuff, that thing that's around her neck. She about to bring out the big dog and check his ass. She about to bring it out. Watch. Look at you. Look at her eyes. Look at her. Look at her. She don't think he crazy at all, but she think he trying to play her. She think he trying to play her, and she sees just what she said. I could speak languages too, because she know that he in a different dimension and speaking and throwing out dog whistles this whole thing, and now she ready to check his ass. Watch this. Here's programmer time. Now watch this. That's why I think I got somebody that I want to speak to now. She's about to check that altar in it. Interview ended. Altar is checked. The spirit is gone. It is checked. She checked it. She's pissed. You can look at her face, because he's there. He's doubting. He's doubting the authenticity of he's pretty much saying you was with them people. You took that off. You was with that, and you sitting there talking and trying to expose shit. You wrote the Matrix. You Sophia. You are this derma urge. And again, certain gnostics don't see Sophia as a more positive, benevolent goddess. And even that's a code, because they got a homunculus deity named Sophia. It's deep. When he said she wrote the Matrix, but then Sophia Stewart came out. That's the real black woman that wrote the Matrix, but he's speaking in code. And now you the Terminator. And he said, it's funny that you singing, you wrote the music with them motherfuckers, and now you want to terminate, you want to write the Matrix. You was a part of that shit. And she realized that's what he told her in so many words. That stuff with that Jackson stuff, y'all got to break that down better. And then when he mentioned the major pain stuff, like he says quite a bit. Look at she looking at him. She checked that spirit, and I look at it, and it's just like that. When he say just like that, like he programmed that. Like she's pretty much like you're a monarch that can be controlled. But a trick, with this certain word. Like look at this. Her face. You see that wave? She let people know that, like the way she waved like that. Like you see how I checked that motherfucker's spirit. You see how I checked it. You see the dominance that she asserted over him just through that whisper. Look at the way she waved at the camera at the end of that, and what you pick up from that. He lucky she didn't motherfucking shapeshift on his ass. That's all I gotta say. Watch this part. Look out the way she wave at the camera and the way she say bye, and the way the dude say just like that, just like that. She way like that. Like I can speak languages too. She went, she checked it, said what she said. We don't know what she said, but you see how he got his act together and how he ended that interview. She triggered. She knew what to say, exactly what to say to get him to shut the fuck up and stop talking. And you know, she knew exactly what to say. So Orlando Brown is obviously a victim of MK Ultra and a lot of trauma, you know. And like we said, he was a kid into that, born into that, and so it's a lot different, you know. There's you're still more connected versus if someone walked into that industry and got involved in Satanism and got involved into the occult and programmed other people and learned the initiation rites and stuff. See, Orlando don't know all of that. He just was a kid and got passed around and fucked up in the head. But God, his star power, his kinetic energy is still on him because what they did to him was illegal in universal eyes. And so, yeah, you know, we covered things that you can do if you are a victim of MK Ultra. We talked about the different meditations, um, the meditations, the AOB, what things that you can do and whatnot. And so we're gonna end it there. Let me remove this one. So I had this streaming on other channel.